Good morning and welcome to the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be followed by an invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know some of you have joined us virtually and may not be able to stand, but if you're able to, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, you have given us the land on this earth as a finite resource, and I pray that you will grant this board wisdom and guide us and our staff and stakeholders this morning as we make decisions that seek to strike a balance between the private property rights of the landowners and the impacts of neighbors in the use of that land. Lord, as always, I pray for our armed forces and our first responders throughout our community, state, nation, and across the globe. Pray that you will guide them, keep them safe each and every day. I ask for all of these blessings in your heavenly name. Amen.
And I'd just like to add for this morning a moment of silence for Officer Jesse Madston. He was a Tampa police officer, highly decorated, and he was killed last night in a wrong way accident on the interstate. So if we could just take a moment for him. Thank you. And then we'll go to a roll call at this time.
Kemp,
Here.
Hagan,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
White,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Cohen,
Oh, I'm sorry. Have we called the, no. you're-
Commissioner Overman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. And at this time, I was thinking about reading that then. Please be advised that I will be unable to attend the BOCC land use meeting this morning as I'm out of the office due to back surgery. I apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. Please read this memo into the record. That is Commissioner Harry Cohen. And with that, Mr. Moreto, you are recognized for withdrawals, continuances, and remands.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Joe Moretta with Development Services Department. We have several changes that I'll read into the record for the agenda. The first one is found on agenda page 7, item B9. It has to do with historic preservation tax exemption, changing the address from 602 East Francis to 715 East Columbus Drive, Tampa, Florida. The next is found on the consent agenda. Actually, these are off the agenda items that were added on as an addendum. The first one is to authorize the county attorney to schedule and advertise a public hearing for March 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to consider an amendment to the Hillsborough County Mobility Fee Ordinance that would amend the phase and schedule to begin assessing mobility fees at their full 100% assessment rate no later than June 30th, 2021. The next one is found as number 2 as an off-the-agenda item to authorize the county attorney's office to schedule and advertise a public hearing for the March 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to consider an amendment to the Hillsborough County Consolidated Impact Fee Assessment Program Ordinance that would amend the phase and schedule to begin assessing park impact fees at their full 100% assessment rate effective no later than June 30th, 2021. Now moving to the agenda itself. Item A1, application 18-0996. Staff is requesting the item be continued to the April 13th Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A2, personal appearance 20-0949. Staff is requesting the item be continued to the April 13th Board meeting starting at 9 a.m. Application 21-0060. The applicant is requesting the item be continued as a matter of right to the April 13th Board meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A4, application 21-0081. Staff is requesting the item be continued to April 13th Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A5, Application 21-0082. The applicant is requesting the item be continued as a matter of right at the April 13th board meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A6, application 21-0204. Staff is requesting the item be continued to the April 13th Board of Commissioners meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A7, application 21-0254. Staff is requesting the item be continued to April 13th Board meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A8, application 21-0255. The applicant is requesting the item be continued as a matter of right to the April 13th board meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A9, application 21-0259. The applicant is requesting the item be continued as a matter of right to the April 13th board meeting starting at 9 a.m. Item A10, application 21-0260. The application is out of order, is being continued to April 13th board meeting starting at 9 a.m. And finally, item A11, application CDD 21-0157. Staff is requesting the item be continued to April 13th board meeting starting at 9 a.m. Commissioners, that concludes all the changes to the agenda. Thank you.
Move the changes.
Second.
We have a motion to move the changes by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Myers. And with that, can we have a roll call, please?
Kemp,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Overman.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. We'll move now to the consent agenda. And may I have motion to
Motion to approve consent.
Second.
motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Myers. And with that, can we have a roll call?
Kemp,
Yes?
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Overman.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
That might be a record at this point. If you have a B item, your item has been approved if you have a B item. And with that, can we have the administration of the oath? If we could have the clerk's office?
Yes. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. And we will move right to the public hearing on land use. We are now on a public hearing agenda. Mr. Moreto, you are recognized.
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E1 on the agenda. This is a personal appearance 20-1306. I'll refer to the Elmo. This site is located on the southeast corner. This is I-75. This is Gibsonton Drive. This is the subject site. It's zoned planned development. The planned development is approved for heavy equipment sales and service. The applicant is requesting for a small addition to the building footprint. Commissioners, this building footprint is located to the very south side of an existing building. This is the existing planned development. Also, I would add that the adjacent planned development to the south is also functioning as part of this site, as they all function as one large operation. Staff is recommending approval of the slight building footprint expansion. The main impact of this would be to the south. We feel it remains consistent and compatible with the original intent of the planned development plan, and we are recommending approval with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. And is the applicant present?
Yes.
On E1?
Andrew McDevitt.
Yes, please stand by.
Andrew McDevitt with Stellar Corporation.
You're recognized.
Okay. Yeah, no comments.
You don't have anything to say?
Yeah.
Okay,
No comments. Thank you.
okay. Do we have any proponent testimony? Those in favor? Any opponent testimony? Those opposed? And seeing none, I'm assuming that you'll waive rebuttal. And do we have a motion as to this item?
Move
I'll close the
approval.
public hearing. We have a moving approval by Commissioner White. Do we have a
Second.
second? A second by, was that Commissioner Myers? Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I don't see any discussion. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Kim?
Yes.
Hagan? Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta?
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E2, personal appearance 20-1310. This item is located in the Balm area, and Michelle Heinrich of our staff is going to walk you through the site plan changes. Most of them deal with access point relocations. This item was actually opened and continued at the last board meeting, and there was also a public meeting that was conducted in the area between the last meeting and this meeting. And I believe Adam Gormley, after Michelle speaks, will also brief you on the status of the results of that meeting. So I'll turn it over to Michelle Heinrich at this point. Thank you.
Good morning, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. And as Mr. Moreta stated, we did discuss this application at our last board meeting. I have put up the aerial map for you just to reorient you to the site we're speaking to. And this is a modification to PD 18304, and it has a northern area and a southern area. The southern area is referred to as the Grove. That is shown right here, and that is the only area proposed for modification. And the Grove is 178 acres in size. It was approved for 356 single-family units and also a village node to contain almost 500 square feet of retail uses. These graphics right here show you the differences between the approved and the proposed site plan changes. Firstly, it is a relocation of an access point along the western boundary, and that's to go northward. And that's shown right here as number 1 on both sides of the graphic. Secondly, to add an access point along the western boundary, and that is identified as number 3. There was no access in the approved, and they're adding one right there where 3 is illustrated. Thirdly, to add an access point along the eastern boundary, and that's shown as number 5. And there was no access in that area, and there's now one proposed for number 5. And then lastly, to reconfigure the internal roads. And if you remember, this is a graphic showing those changes between the approved and proposed site plans. And that concludes my summary of the application, and I believe Mr. Gormley is available to speak to any updates since the last meeting.
Mr. Gormley, you're recognized.
Thank you. Adam Gormley, Development Services. At the last board meeting, there was a board motion to come back to this meeting with identification of improvements that were going to be made to this, with this project, in particular dealing with Shelley Lane, which is on the east side of the project. There is a current condition requiring that be approved to county standards unless a design exception or waiver is granted for that. Additionally, there is a option, there are 3 options for treatment of Balm Waimama Road. They're shown on the site plan and described in the conditions. In addition to coming back to the board with information on that, there was a direction to hold a public meeting, which we held last Thursday in Balm, actually just north of this site at the park facility. It was pretty well attended. We had approximately 25 people show up for the meeting and felt it was a productive opportunity to share the information I'm about to share with you. So the improvements to Shelley Lane, this is the road on the east side of the project, the north-south road. The applicant's proposing to build that with no design exceptions or waivers to county standards. I will note that they are proposing to provide 60 feet of right-of-way as opposed to 50, but within that corridor, every design element that's required by our tech manual is proposed to be met with just more right-of-way than the cross-section would typically provide. In relation to Balm Waimama Road, the applicant is proposing to elect option 1, which would take the existing Balm Waimama Road, which goes diagonally to the northeast, and essentially straighten that out to go north and intersect with 672. And I do have a graphic that I can show if I could share my screen. That. Okay. So this graphic here is showing the northwest part of the project that currently has Balm Waimama Road running along the north side of it here. The option that the applicant is electing would have Balm Waimama extend north and intersect with 672, at which point there would be both left and right turn lanes for people turning south coming from the west, or people coming south coming from the east, a left turn lane. The existing Balm Waimama Road will remain as it is up to about the entrance of the park, at which point there'll be proposed to be a cul-de-sac built there, and the remaining portion of Balm Waimama Road would be removed, and in doing so would eliminate the unaligned intersection of Balm Waimama Road, Balm Boyette Road, 672, and Shelley Lane. With this cul-de-sac and this location, the remaining Balm Waimama Road would still provide for access to the park facility and the existing residences currently located along Balm Waimama Road. That concludes the summary of the improvements for this project. I'm available for any questions the board may have.
Thank you, and my screen isn't showing right now. It's just got the graphic up, so
Yeah,
I'm going to have
sorry,
to.
I'm trying to
That's
share
okay.
this right now.
I can't see it. Then anyone, if they have any questions, anyone
Can I?
with regards to this? Okay, seeing none, and because we took
Thank you.
any proponent or opponent testimony last time, is that correct? That we we don't have a continued public hearing or open it up? Is that correct?
If the board did hold the public hearing already last time, you're not required to hold another public hearing. Is up to the wish of the board.
Just wanted to be sure. And so is there, at this time, comments? Yes, Commissioner Smith.
If there were somebody here to speak to it, we could opt to hear from them.
Yes.
So, is there?
I'll just,
I'm not sure.
yeah, I'll just then open it up and say, is there any proponent testimony for? Any opponent testimony against? Any opponent testimony?
Commissioners, pardon me, the applicant is a proponent, and we are here to speak to any questions you have or to address any concerns that have come up since the last meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, me.
Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public
I
hearing.
believe we may have opponent testimony.
Okay. Opponent testimony, okay.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Bill O'Brien. I live at 15002 Carlton Lake Road in Balm, Florida. I represent myself and the Balm Civic Association, as well as the Balm area residents. I've lived in Balm all my life and have been actively involved in Balm community affairs for over 40 years, serving to help found the Civic Association in the early 80s, serving as president of the association numerous times, and currently serve as vice president. Based on feedback from the commission, a public hearing or a public meeting was held at the Balm Park on March 4th, 2021 to discuss the modifications requested regarding transportation access to the subject groves development. The entire community appreciates the effort put forth by county officials to communicate with Balm citizens on this matter. However, I found the meeting rather frustrating because the agenda was to communicate what was being planned, not what the citizens considered as potential options to the plan. Additionally, the community assumed that the developer would be present to facilitate the discussion of potential options. No developer representation was provided. Following the meeting, several serious issues still remain. The developer has Shelley Lane becoming the main access for north-south bound traffic onto what is currently Balm Waimama Road, and the current Balm Waimama Road connectivity to State Road 672 will be dead-ended. This plan is not received well with the residents. Instead, the developer should design the development's access to connect the Balm Waimama Road at a point further south and potentially restore the perpendicular connectivity of Balm Waimama Road with Boyer Road as it once was. A traffic study should reveal that the growth to the north impacts the flow of traffic in the north-south direction, utilizing the Balm Waimama Road significantly. Regardless of the final design, attention must be paid to providing adequately designed turn lanes on the main thoroughfares to help mitigate the traffic jams caused by traffic turning to and from the development. Although a new extension of Balm Waimama Road, as proposed, the County Road 672 may help, the chosen path may be through wetlands. Again, a planned redesign of the Balm Waimama connection to 672 that aligns with the Boyer Road corridor, providing well-designed turn lanes in all directions, would appear to be more practical. The proposed access roads to and from the development should be reviewed due to the potential that some currently appear to be routed through existing wetlands. Has the developer conducted an EPC delineation to identify where the wetlands exist and if roadways can be constructed through them? The most significant issue was the signal that the developer really does not care about the community. Concerns due to the fact that they did not participate in the discussions. I recommend that you either defer approval until appropriate planning is conducted or reject the approvals. While I have a moment on your agenda later, I would suggest approval of items I1, I2, and J1. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And are there any other opponents? Those in opposition? Seeing no further opponents, I will,
Yes, ma'am,
we
there
do
is.
have another. Okay, I'm sorry, so sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Buddy Harrell, Balm, Florida, board member, Balm Civic Association. As Mr. O'Brien stated out, there was several concerns with the meeting. Last time I was here, I spoke about the 250-foot buffer remove, the relocation of a driveway on the south side that's partially impacting wetlands. At the meeting, like I say, we showed up. We were not given any options. We were shown what they were going to do. The board at the last meeting said for them to come and at least talk over some of the options. We have concerns about the roads intersecting 672, about turn lanes. There was some talk about some turn lanes. I think they were only right turn lanes. No left turn lanes to Balm, Waimama, or Shelley Lane. The left turn lanes is what backs up traffic, and you got to remember this is a truck route. The other concern is going through the wetlands, and I got a graph up here for the extension of the Balm Waimama Road to intersect 672. Which way? Okay, this is where the bend is going. This is where the new extension's going. All in this area in 672, when we have heavy rains, at least 3 or 4 times a year, floods. There's a bridge up here and a creek that comes in here. There was no mention on who's going to be responsible for the drainage or the flooding. Also, no signalization at either one of these intersections. That's going to create a lot more traffic in the area and backups. The other concern was if they do close this Balm Waimama Road, what's going to happen with the name? Are the citizens going to have be involved in renaming this or what? Still a lot of issues with the EPC. This is one of their EPC submitted this policy. It's in their graphics. As you can see on the bottom there, it talks about the any activity interfering in integrity of wetlands in surface waters such as clearing, excavating, drainage, filling without written authorization. The one above it prohibits wetland impacts unless they're necessary. So I just would like a little bit more clarification with some of the turn lanes, and what happened to the other options. Thank you. And please approve I-1, I-2, and J-1.
Thank you. Are there any more opponents that want to speak? Those against item E2?
Yes, there is.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
You're
Hello.
recognized. If you could please state your name.
My name is Glenn Fisk. I live at 14635 Sweatleaf Road in Balm, Florida. I'd like to express a concern for where we see on this map that red balloon. That's going to be a 4-way intersection now if they do what they want to do. I was wondering if it's going to be a 4-way stop sign, or is it going to stay with Balm Waimama going through? Is that going to not have stop signs? And I don't know how you're going to handle this properly. Also, in the top right corner, right over here, we have Shelley Lane, which is going to be improved. But the thing is, right straight across the street from that is where Balm Boyette Road starts. This intersection is going to become just like 672 and 301. When you come up there, if you're going west and you want to go north on US 301, and anyone wants to go straight into the Belmont subdivision across the street, there's no straight through lane. Straight through and turn right, which is where almost everybody goes. remains one lane right now. The developer didn't fix it, and so far Hillsborough County has no plans to fix it as far as I know. And it's really frustrating to sit there with 15 cars in a lane, waiting everybody to go north except the first vehicle. He wants to go straight across the road, and he doesn't have his own straight through lane. There's no right turn lane there, and that's the same thing you're gonna have here. Coming down Balm Road to that intersection, you will not have a turn lane for anybody. It's one lane to go and turn right, turn left, or come straight into the subdivision proposed here. Along with that, I'm also concerned especially about the wetlands that has not been delineated. 2, maybe 3 places they're trying to put roads are going right through swampy areas, and some places are very obvious. A couple of them aren't until it rains quite excessively, which we know it does several times a year here in Florida. Thank you for my time.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners and staff. Thanks for having us here. My name is Jamie Franklin. I live at 15064 Balm Road, beautiful downtown Balm. My problems with this road that they want to put through to 672 is basically go right beside our spot, right where we live. We have enough noise out there now, but it's going to be terrible if they do that. And if you permit them to do that, I expect all the trees and fauna to stay there to eliminate some of this noise coming to our house. Where the dump trucks start at 4:30 in the morning, thank you. I expect all the trees and everything to stay there. If they're not gonna leave all the trees and the fauna and everything to help the noise problem, I expect one of them big walls, the noise barriers like they see on the interstate. That'll shock them if they have to pay for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. My name's Alfred Bruner. I do need to be sworn in.
If we could swear Mr. Bruner in.
Yes, ma'am.
And is this opponent testimony or proponent?
Opponent.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My name's Alfred Bruner. I live on Carlton Lake Road, 15006. Was a neighbor of Bill O'Brien's for a number of years. I've lived in the area 8 years and watched our traffic increase exponentially. I watched urban sprawl, which RP2 was supposed to try to contain, be used as a means to increase urban sprawl. With this particular development and the way that they talked about the roads, and we asked about the north-south traffic analysis, there didn't appear to be any. You know, extending Balm Road up to 672, one, it goes through a wetland area, which will eventually impacts, I believe, one of the waterways and drainages from the fields. During those heavy rains, it already floods, as previously stated, which will be, I believe, aggravated and open to be proven wrong on that by putting a road through there. I think there's other means available that would do that successfully without that impact. But I do have a big concern about the north-south specifically. Balm Mama Road and then Balm Boyette Road, with all the development going north of there, all those folks are coming down to get to 672 and make a beeline for 301 in the interstate. If you're telling, or if you're trying to drop down to 674, because getting on at Big Bend is already a nightmare. By adding just turn lanes or extra long turn lanes, which seems to be the traffic design preference around here, all it does is extend the traffic. It doesn't solve the traffic. You can see that on Big Bend. The traffic there backs up all the way to 301 routinely, and not even during rush hour times. And you're trying to do this on a main truck thoroughfare, on a subpar road, and adding that much more. I would like to see a design that allows for that north-south flow over the existing road without overly impacting 672. And I'm also for the other agenda items, I-1, I-2, and J1 for approval. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And we only have a few seconds left, literally 39. I don't know if there's any other opponent testimony, those opposed?
I believe that's all, ma'am.
Thank you. And so I guess we'll have an opportunity now for the proponent testimony.
Commissioners, good morning. William Malloy, 325 South Boulevard. Not strictly here as a proponent, but as the applicant's representative. First of all, I want to very honestly express our appreciation to the citizens of Balm and the staff for all the input and very hard work that's happened in the last 30 days. I know that was not easy to do, to pull together that meeting. We would have liked to have been there. I'm not sure that we had anything that was relevant or helpful, and we felt that it was more appropriate that the county staff guide that meeting. So I hope there's nothing pejorative about our absence there. I do want to remind the commission, and I'm going to try and do this very delicately, that the request today is to add 2 access points and do a minor internal redraw of the approved plan. There is nothing about these applications, whether approved or denied, that affect the off-site issues that we're hearing about. That being said, I have Steve Henry here, who's a professional traffic engineer. You all know him. He's going to speak directly to some of the concerns that have been brought up in our effort to hopefully appease or alleviate some of the concerns there. But again, the request before you is limited to the driveways and the redraw. There's nothing we can do as a matter of these applications for the off-site infrastructure. I want to stress that. Thank you. And Mr. Henry.
Good morning, Steve Henry, Links & Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607. I want to address some of the comments on the option that was presented today. The first one deals with the turn lanes. We have conducted a traffic analysis, and the turn lanes for the extension for that option and for Shelley Lane have been designed to accommodate the build out of the project. So those turn lanes will be designed for the queuing and also the decel for both the extension and at Shelley Lane. In addition, we have delineated, the wetlands have been delineated, and so we are taking that into consideration. We have to meet a certain design speed for that road, so you can't avoid all the wetlands simply because there's only so much curve that you can put in a road, meet the design speeds for those roads. But we have come up with the alignment that minimizes that impact. That will have to go to EPC, it will have to go to SwiftMud, we'll have to document that we have minimized the impact to those wetlands for that alignment. So that has been done, it is in the process. As far as the drainage, we have looked at the drainage both on County Road 672 and also where that extension is going. We are extending the culverts on 672 to accommodate the additional turn lanes that we're adding. On 672 at the extension, we are adding a right turn lane and a left turn lane. And then we also have culverts that are going under the road to allow the drainage to go east-west for the extension. So we have taken into consideration the drainage in the area, we've taken into consideration the wetlands in the area, and also the traffic in the area. As far as Shelley Lane, we are adding the turn lanes necessary to serve the project for that. See if there's any other comments that I haven't addressed. I think that's it. As far as 672, I think there was a comment that it is subpar. In fact, the turn lanes out there today, or the lanes out there today are 12 feet. We are putting back 12-foot lanes. The improvements that we are doing, we are putting back putting in an 8-foot shoulder, 5-foot paved, which meets the transportation technical manual. Today, the shoulders are 6 to 8 foot with 3 to 4 feet of pavement on them. So we are bringing that up where we're doing it to the standards for the lane widths and also for the shoulders. That concludes my presentation, unless you've got any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, if there's no other public testimony, I will close a public hearing, and we will move to board discussion.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hagan and seconded by Commissioner White. And do we have any further board? Commissioner Smith?
You can let Commissioner White go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I have my hand raised electronically, so
I keep
whichever-
looking
wherever
on
I am
this
in-
and I see
wherever I am in the queue.
no hands raised on my screen here. I keep running it up and down. Sorry. Okay, here we go. I did get them once. I kept trying to not miss people on this. Okay, so I'm not sure, but go ahead, Commissioner White.
Okay, I was multitasking. Well, there we go. Sorry. I was multitasking during some of the discussion, and I may have missed this, but do we know whether or not signalization is going to be warranted at 672 and Balm Waimama Road when the two are aligned with Balm Boyette or whatever it is that it becomes?
Yes, Commissioner, at this point, we don't have information that will be meeting signal warrants, and there's nothing in the zoning right now that would require that of the developer.
Okay, I mean, is it possible to make that a condition, if that would give the community more peace of mind, that we're gonna require it if it's warranted based on a warrant study, or?
If there was going to be a signal installed there, it would be something that we would need to have meet warrants to stay in good
How
position.
can we get it in there as a condition that should studies indicate that it's warranted, that we're gonna require it?
Require it of the developer?
Yes.
Well, I think that the element of it being warranted would be important. I think we'd want to consider whether the scope of this amendment would warrant that, no pun intended, would support the need for an additional requirement on the project. Right now,
I certainly think it would. You know, we'd be realigning those roads and creating a new intersection, and we would have all the traffic from the new subdivision. If I may, Madam Chair, I would like to ask the applicant's representative to come to the microphone and let us know if they would agree to such a condition.
Sure, you can.
Commissioner, we're here, and if you give us about 60 seconds, we'll we'll have a response for you.
Okay.
Commissioner, Mr. Henry is going to speak to your question.
Good afternoon, Steve Henry again. We have not done a signal warrant analysis to evaluate that intersection, but from a standpoint, if the developer was able to get mobility fee credits, because we are fixing a problem that currently exists where Balm Waimama intersects at 672, by moving that to the west, we're making it a safer and adding the capacity to the system by doing that. So I think that certainly may be amenable to developers if he's able to get mobility fee credits or some type of credit from the county for putting that signal in, because it is helping that overall intersection of Balm Waimama and 672 that exists today.
Do I still have the floor, Madam Chair? Okay. Well, I won't support any mobility fee credits, but I would think that a signal there would be in the best interest of your own citizens, the new citizens that would live in that community. So I tell you what I'm going to do is make a substitute motion to defer this item to the end of this meeting so that the applicant and staff can have a talk and see if they can agree on some type of a condition that would speak to signalization if warranted. But I would not want any mobility fee credits to be contemplated in that.
Second.
So we have a substitute motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Smith. On the substitute motion, do we have further discussion at this time? Yes, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. You know, I want to thank staff as well as the citizens for really going the extra mile to put together that community meeting. These are really important decisions here about the transportation in a tricky area. And I'm really glad that staff went to a lot of trouble, put out the signs in the neighborhood so that not only the Balm Civic Association, but the public would be alerted, and they got good participation. Mr. Gormley tells me he went down there on his own time and observed the situation as preliminary to working with the citizens. I understand the citizens' frustration that the developer wasn't a part of that discussion, so they could have a sense that, you know, they might have helped to negotiate something there that they could have brought to us together. So I understand that. But I also understand Mr. Malloy's point that at this stage, we are in a tricky situation. We are not in a point of renegotiating the whole deal. It was, this development was approved a few years ago before most of us got here, before some of us got here. And so, yes, there's going to be a lot more traffic in this area, and that's done. Now the best we can do is make sure that it's being handled better and in the more modern way that we do now with design exceptions, where we bring those into the public process so the public has a opportunity and to look at them and weigh in on them, as well as the board, and they become a part of the record. So that was one of the points of the continuance, was to get some specificity on those Shelley Lane, the possible design exceptions of Shelley Lane, and to get specific about which of the three options they were going to do. So I would ask the developers, the applicants, while they're considering coming back with their answer to the substitute motion, to also come back and let us know that they would be all right with making their commitment. They've made a verbal commitment, I understand, to bringing Shelley Lane up to county standards without going back to, without any possible administrative design exceptions. So I would like that memorialized in the zoning conditions by simply striking through the part that says, it says they would bring it up to standards unless they do design exceptions in the old administrative way. So if they could line through that unless and say they will bring it up to county standards as part of the conditions, then keeping in mind that if they ever ran into some problems with that, they could bring it back here and, you know, ask for some design exceptions or variances or whatever. But for what we're approving today, to document their commitment to bring Shelley Lane up to county standards, and I think that would alleviate some of the community concerns and traffic issues as well. Also, if they're doing option one of the putting Balm Waimama Road up to Balm, that is going to, that is going to warrant some look at the wetlands later, but that will be handled by EPC on the way. What if, Mr. Gormley, what if as they're doing this, EPC says, no, the wetland impacts are too severe? You have to go back to the drawing board?
They would have to elect another option, yes, ma'am.
Right, so then that would come back to us as well. So with that, I think we have a lot more understanding of where we're at when they come back. Thank you.
Mr. Gormley, you wanted to respond?
Yes, I just have some information. I believe that the applicant is prepared at this point to commit to constructing a signal at the realigned Balm Waimama Road 672 intersection. And I would suggest a condition that as part of the reconstruction of the realigned Balm Waimama Road, a signal will be installed, developer shall install a signal at the intersection of Balm Waimama Road and 672 if warranted. And I believe the applicant is prepared to agree to that.
And I have some others here, but Commissioner White.
Thank you. And my staff just reminded me, Mr. Gormley, and we went over this in our briefing, and I apologize for overlooking this fact. There was some discussion of possibly a roundabout there versus a signal. Is that still a potential?
So there are two potential roundabouts. One is in this zoning, and one of them is in E3.
Okay.
So the roundabout in this one, there are three options for dealing with Balm Waimama Road. Two of them have that realignment from diagonal to north. The third option would be to put a traffic signal at the existing Balm Waimama, Balm Boyette, Shelley Lane, 672 junction.
If they take that route.
If they take that route.
And that's the condition that the applicant's prepared to agree to.
Yes, and that option is in there today. So to the earlier question, if they are not permitted to extend the north-south Balm Waimama due to wetland impacts, they still have an option that they could construct currently improved in the zoning.
Do you still need to the end of the meeting to get the language of that condition right?
I don't believe so. I believe what I, from my perspective, what I just read into the record would memorialize that requirement sufficient for us to move forward with it as a condition.
Okay, what I'd like to do, Madam Chair, is withdraw my substitute motion and make a motion to amend Commissioner Hagan's motion that would add this proposed condition.
So you have a motion to withdraw your second.
To withdraw the substitute motion that I made.
Substitute motion, I'm sorry.
And place a new motion on the floor that amends Commissioner Hagan's motion for approval to add this new condition.
Okay, the condition being the, exactly the warrant.
The signalization of the mentioned intersection, should they choose that route and should it be warranted? Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
And
I will add on Commissioner Smith's issue to the commitment to bring Shelley Lane to county standards as well.
And Commissioner,
Second.
that condition would be 23, and it would change to read, as Shelley Lane is a substandard local roadway, the developer will be required to improve Shelley Lane between its southernmost access connection and County Road 672 to current county standards, period, and the rest of that condition would be struck.
okay, so we have a motion by, an amendment by Commissioner White and seconded by Commissioner Overman. Did you second that? Myers.
No,
I mean,
Myers.
Myers, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, excuse me. Commissioner Myers. So, and with that, I know that Commissioner Overman has had her hand raised for a long time. Would you like to speak to this amendment, Commissioner Overman?
Yes, please. And actually, this is the direction I was going because of my concerns of that entire area, which we've already heard from the residents in that area. By aligning these two roads, north-south, to east-west roads and taking Balm out, these become major collector roads. And by aligning the language associated with county standards, I think it's going to be incredibly important that the traffic studies reflect the coming development in order to assure that the design is reflective of connecting two state roads, with the new alignment of Balm Road and the light at basically the rail line. And that's one of the reasons why I think we're hearing concerns about a light at that location, because it will become a major intersection that connects those two state roads. So initially, when I looked at that option, that was my first concern was, are we designing the road with enough right-of-way while we have it? Or looking at it from that perspective. And I was told that that was under consideration, but I do believe that that's going to be important. And given that the developer has agreed to look at this, I think we as county need to be assured that the design standard for the county, bring to county standards, takes into consideration that we're basically creating a large connector road between those two state roads. And so that we're not having to redesign it down the road for all the traffic that has been approved in that particular area, although there's not the demand as we speak. We also heard some concerns from the residents regarding, it being a truck route. We don't have a truck study yet to discern what the impact will be on the residents that are in those areas. So I appreciate the commissioners' amendments and look forward to seeing where we go with this. But I think we are going to have to be sensitive to not only the wetland issues, but also the volume and the design that ultimately comes into place. And I'll stop there.
Okay, are there at this time any other commissioners that would like to speak to this? I see none. I'd just like to express a couple of things here. I'm very worried about the warrant because I know those warrants are incredibly difficult to get. And I'm wondering, Mr. Gormley, if you could speak to that for a second, or Ms. Lundgren, with regards to the warrants, because I think it's issued by FDOT. Is that true? And then I'm thinking that they issue it based on the traffic now during this, not on the future traffic. So that I'm thinking that the possibility of getting a warrant is not very good.
So, Commissioner, I think you raised a good point. The warrant study would be conducted by the applicant, and the way the warrant study would work is it would look at the full traffic build out of the project, and we can include that as an explicit condition that the traffic warrant study will be conducted and submitted by the developer at initial construction plan approval, and consider the full traffic impact from the development.
Okay. And the other was in Commissioner White's motion. I don't know if we have to explicitly say, but I appreciate that you had brought up before, but in terms of the mobility fee credits, which, I don't believe should be issued for this. So is that, we've spoken to that on the record, but the language of the motion did not have that.
Yeah, Commissioner, there is no longer the structure of improvement and a credit by operation of the mobility fee ordinance. In order to get mobility fee credits, if you will, that requires an agreement between the developer and the board, and it requires the project to be on the CIP. So nothing in this motion would facilitate any offsets or credits if that would take a separate motion, a separate agreement, and a separate action. It would need to come back to this board for approval before it could be offset considered. So by not having that in the condition, it does not open the door for any credits to be granted.
Okay, I'm at peace with this. And seeing that, I don't see any further board discussion. We have a motion by Commissioner White, which I won't make him make again. Repeat, I think we all kind of know it. And it was seconded by Commissioner Myers. And seeing no further board discussion, can we do a roll call, please?
Kim?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta?
Was that the amendment?
I think we have to go to the
I'm
main
sorry,
motion.
the main motion. That's right, excuse me. And so with that, we'll go to the main motion. And with that, we have that main motion by Commissioner Hagan, seconded by Commissioner White. And if we could have a roll call vote?
Kim?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, and we will now go to Mr. Moreta.
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E3, personal appearance 20-1315. This takes us actually southwest of the previous project between Balm Road and the CSX railway corridor. The proposal is to change internal alignments of roadways, stormwater, but primarily external access points are also being relocated. Michelle Heinrich of our staff will walk you through the site plan changes, and we'll be available for questions that follow. Thank you.
Great. Good morning again, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. This PRS 2013-15, is a modification to PD 170619, and that is as most recently modified by PRS 190529. Overall, this PD consists of 965 acres, and it consists of 3 separate areas. That would be South Fork, Carlton, and Balm. And it is only the Balm area, which you see shown here, that is proposed for modification today. The Balm area is 400 acres in size, and it is approved for 7 development pockets to allow a total of 373 single-family residential units, as well as commercial uses. The Balm area is within both the RP2 and AR future land use categories. However, today it is only pocket A of those 7 development pockets that's proposed for modification, and that area is within the RP2 future land use category. Primarily, there are 6 changes proposed to pocket A. And what I have shown here on the Elmo is from the staff report, and that just graphically shows the area of proposed changes. The first one is to relocate the village node northward. Number 1 shows the existing location on the left, and the proposed location is shown as number 1 on the right. The new location continues to meet the required size and locational requirements. However, there is one minor modification to that, in that the current PD conditions require that the village node be bound by streets on all 4 sides. And under this modification, as you'll see where they are relocating that, it can only be bound by 3 streets. Secondly, the request to relocate the stub out along the eastern boundary. Number 2 shows the existing location on the left and the proposed location on the right. Both the existing and proposed locations go through a perimeter buffer. Thirdly, to relocate the access along the eastern boundary, this existing location is shown as number 3 on the left and the proposed number 3 on the right, and this is not within a perimeter buffer area. Also, to position stormwater ponds within Pocket A's western 250-foot buffer. This is illustrated as number 4 on the left and the right. You'll see here where those pond locations are. This area is to the immediate west of a site of a TECO-owned parcel, and western stub-outs will continue to be provided. Also, to relocate an eastern stub-out along the northern portion of the eastern Pocket A boundary. This is shown as number 5 on the 2 graphics. And lastly, to reconfigure the internal roadway network, similar to what you heard in the previous application. And this graphic illustrates the existing and the proposed. Staff has reviewed that, and these changes do continue to provide both internal and external connectivity. And I did also just want to note that we do have a revised staff report from our transportation staff, and that does speak to condition number 39, and that was also provided to the applicant yesterday, which corrects a typo, and that has been entered into the record. And at an appropriate time, if Mr. Gormley needs me to read that, I'd be happy to. And it also proposes a new condition having to do with the signage for the roadway stub-outs. And again, if and when Mr. Gormley would like me to read that, I would be happy to do so. And that is all I have for you, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. And Mr. Gormley, did you want to speak to?
I believe Michelle can go ahead and read that change into the record.
Okay, Mr. Gormley, I think you asked for that change to be read into the record. For that change, condition 39, the developer shall construct a roundabout at the intersection of the project's southern access to the northernmost development pod, serving commercial pockets C and D. And that corrects what was previously shown as B. It should be C and D. And the rest of the sentence would read with Balm, Waimama Road and Balm Road. The new condition proposed by transportation staff is as follows. In addition to any end-of-the-road treatment or signage required by the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the developer shall place signage which identifies roadway stub-outs as a future roadway connection. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will, applicant presentation. Is the applicant?
That's fine with that. Yes, ma'am. William Malloy again, 325 South Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. Commissioners, there's nothing we need to add factually to what Ms. Heinrich presented. This is another, essentially a minor redraw of an existing approved plan development. It's legally distinct from the one you just heard, but practically linked, in that a lot of these driveways are intended to line up to make one cohesive development. We do have recommendations of approval from staff and the Planning Commission, and we are here to answer any questions you may have about this request. Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and I will ask for any proponent testimony, those in support of item E3. Do we have any proponent testimony? Okay.
It doesn't seem so.
Thank you. And do we have opponent testimony, those against this opponent
do.
testimony?
Yes, we do.
Good afternoon, Buddy Harwell, Balm, Florida again. Just here again, we have some buffer issues. This is pulled out of the LDC of the county. And your definition of a buffer is horizontal distance of the property line which may only be occupied by screening, underground utilities, stormwater ponds with slopes no steeper than 4:1, landscaping materials, or other undisturbed or appropriately managed vegetation. Buffers and screenings are used to reduce the impact of use of land or adjacent uses which are significantly different character, density, or intensity, as the term is used in section 4.0100. Buffer means an area of undisturbed or appropriately managed vegetation surrounding a natural resource that is utilized to minimize man-introduced disturbances, including the secondary impacts of development. So they want to put a road through the buffer. Just want to point out this buffer, they already, they get to use it as a buffer. They get to use it as open space. They get to use it as density calculations. And now they want to put a road through it, which is supposed to reduce the impact of rural to urban. Now, this is not the same piece of property, but it's a parent property of this original rezoning. And here again, we're talking about buffer. The portion of the lake, are y'all seeing the area?
No, we can't see it at this time. We see it now.
Okay, but this is Shelley Lake, which is part of the original rezoning. There's no buffering, 250-foot buffering on these sides. There's no buffering, and this is where the village node is going, to the adjacent agricultural property here. But they put a buffering along the water edge and cow pastures. All that is a number game to get the buffering up to code. And this is another picture that actually shows it. And you can see the 250 foot is only right here. That's one of the main issues we have in RP2 is the buffering. There's no buffering along Balm Road, but they'll put a buffering along a TICO easement on the backside of this original property to buffer it against power lines. I read you the definition of buffer, so this is one of the issues hopefully we can work out in the RP2 moratorium, but I would really ask you to look into this and deny the access into the bufferings and see what else we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents? Those opposed?
Yes, ma'am.
Jamie Franklin, 15064 Balm Road. Beautiful downtown Balm. It's getting where it's not, though. Look, I have a problem with this property they're talking about right here. It's across the street from me. The way I'm looking at it, they want to bring traffic out on to Balm Road. As soon as they bring it out on Balm Road, going north, because everybody's going to Tampa, it seems like, if they turn right, boom, there's going to be a stop sign there because you've now made that road all the way through. So I don't know how many homes they have, but 90% of them are going to be driving out in the morning. So they're going to come out the Balm Road, turn right, and have to stop. I have a hard time now getting out of our property when we do leave, which is not very often because of all the traffic. But there's going to be a problem. So they need to not have that road coming out on Balm Road. They need to put all their traffic in and out on Balm Road, especially because now they're planning on making it go all the way through my property where I'm going to hear all this noise, which I really don't want to, but maybe the commissioners can do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there more opponent testimony? Those speaking against this?
I believe that's all.
Thank you. And do we have at this time any rebuttal by the applicant?
Commissioners, William Malloy again. I did understand and hear some general frustrations with the project. Specifically, what I can address is the buffers. We are precluded from reducing a buffer in any capacity under the terms of the moratorium that's in place right now in RP2. And your very professional staff was hyper vigilant that we not affect a buffer whatsoever. So that's not part of the request today to change any buffers or reduce them. I just want to make that clear. And again, we have the applicant's representative and the traffic engineer here if you have any questions for us.
Thank you. And with that, I'll close the public hearing and we can move to board discussion. And Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I do understand that the buffer, I don't know, Mr. Gormley, I'm a little bit confused. I think that Mr. Harwell made a good point about, or seemed to make a good point about using the buffer as not only buffering, but as open space and as a road. But then Mr. Malloy said, we're not changing the buffering. Can you explain?
Yes, Commissioner, I believe the area in question is noted as item 5 on the map included in the staff report. That area has the appearance of moving a road from outside of the buffer into the buffer. However, the original site plan drawn did not show the 250-foot buffer to scale. So below in the site plan, there's the actual buffer area shown in blue currently and green and proposed. And so the current road alignment right now is within the 250-foot buffer. So it's moving it from one location within the buffer to the other. So the area that would be taken up by that road moving south will be filled in by the area where the road used to be on the north existing as buffer.
Okay, I think I understand. So, but I do think it's a good point for us to be considering during the moratorium process as we look at revising items in the RP2 and WVR2 area, just to at least consider this question of multiple uses of open space buffering and some wetlands and everything else. I would like to, I tell you what, I would like to do the same thing here that we did with the previous one, and that is to line out to ask to amend this. Well, I guess what I'll do is I'll make a motion to approve as long as we are able to also strike through the old-fashioned, no longer used way of doing design exceptions administratively. Line through the text in conditions 41 on Sweat Loop Road and 42 for Balm Picnic Road that say the developer is supposed to bring the roads up to county standards unless they go through the administrative design exception process. So that would mean that they would now be required to bring these roads up to county standards, period. If they need to change that later on, they can come back to us and we can do that in a public forum. But I would move approval with those two strike-throughs. Yes, Mr. Gormley?
Commissioner, at least on the improvements to 672, and I suggest you may want to hear from the applicant on this because we did not have this discussion with the applicant about their design plans. But I do know that 672 in at least some places doesn't have the full right-of-way that would be able to accommodate the full design cross-section, which I believe would take 96 feet. And I know in certain portions of Balm, Waimama, it's at 70-some feet. So we do know that at least Balm, Waimama right now won't be able to, I'm sorry, 672 not Balm, Waimama, I apologize, 672 will not be able to fit in all places in the existing right-of-way corridor.
Yes, and this is part of the problem with these, is then we never know publicly what is going to happen with that road. So let's have an explanation of what is going to happen. See if the applicant would like to address that here publicly. What is going to happen? What's their plan for that piece of road? And then hopefully we can line out the unless on Sweat Loop Road. But I'll ask the applicant, if I may, to address that.
Yep. Commissioners, William Malloy again. We are more than happy to address that. I'm going to let Mr. Henry speak to 672 primarily. Thank you.
Morning, Steve Henry again. So on 672, based on the survey that we've got, the lanes are 12 feet. The existing shoulder is 6 to 8 feet with 3 to 4 feet of pavement. What we're proposing with the improvements as we extend Balm to the north is continue the 12-foot lanes. The shoulders will be the 8-foot with 5-foot paved, which meets the transportation technical manual. So for the improvements that we're putting in there, we intend to meet the technical manual for those design elements. We cannot meet the full TTM as far as potentially the ditches and also the sidewalk on both sides of the street. But for the traffic elements, we intend to meet those design standards.
Thank you. So if we could have that written as part of the record here, so we at least have that understanding without any further unless, and then take out the less on unless part on Sweat Loop Road. I think I'd be in a place where I'd have to approve it.
So Commissioners, can I make a suggestion for 42 to leave the condition as written, but add that in any case, the improvements to 672 shall include 12-foot travel lanes, 8-foot shoulders with 5-foot paved. And then there's latitude on other designs, but those elements will remain absolute requirements.
I think that's the best we can do in this situation with what's before us.
Henry, just want to make absolutely clear, those design elements are only for the limits of the improvements that we're doing for the extension of Balm Road.
Understood.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead, Mr. Gormley.
so the condition is broader than just the limits of the extension of Balm Road and the easternmost access point. So I believe what Mr. Henry was just speaking to there was a portion of the improvement. However, the condition 42 does have a broader applicability that requires that the improvement continue west to the nearest standard roadway.
Right.
And that's what we're saying we cannot agree to. We will agree to the limits of what the improvements that we're doing. We can agree to that, but not beyond what the limits of the improvements that we're doing for the extension of Balm Road.
Commissioner Smith?
I'm not sure if we're, I certainly don't want to sit here and give away more. I'm trying to get a tighter specificity about what the actual commitment is. I certainly don't want to sit here today and give away more. So all I want is to remove the the administrative process for a future design exceptions that is here, and understanding that 672 has it limits, can we write it to, of right-of-way, can we write it to say that the road will be brought up to current county standards within the right, as allowable within the right-of-way, and then leave this unless otherwise. We can leave the unless otherwise part in 42, but say that it will be brought up to current county standards within the right-of-way, the current right-of-way somehow.
The unless approved, unless otherwise approved, that is referring to an administrative variance portion of the code. So there's two things in this condition. One that says approve it unless the requirement to the improvement is basically waived through the variance process. Then the second part is deviations from Transportation Technical Manual standards, deals with how the road's constructed if it is still required. So if I understand that the proposed amendment would be 12-foot, 8 shoulders, 5 paved between the easternmost access point and the realigned Balm Waimama Road, and the other portion, the other improvements to 672 would be considered, deviation from TTM standards may be considered in accordance with section 1.7.2 and other applicable sections of the Hillsborough County Transportation Technical Manual, provided no design exceptions shall be design exceptions shall be limited to elements that cannot fit within the existing right-of-way corridor.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think that's the best we can do unless anybody has a better idea, but I think we have to settle for that on condition 42 and then strike through the unless portion completely on condition 41 for Sweat Loop.
Commissioners, we want to clarify exactly what we're agreeing to here, if that's appropriate right now.
So
This, okay, so this is a graphic that shows the extension. What we're agreeing to be able to provide the 12-foot lanes, the 8-foot shoulder, 5-foot paved, are within the limits of the improvements, which include the tapering back in with the left turn lane, and then to the west, where we taper with the right turn lane and taper back from the left turn lane. So this segment of 672 is what we're agreeing to be able to provide those design elements, which are, again, the 12-foot lanes with the 8-foot shoulder, 5-foot paved. That's the limits that we can agree to. Beyond that, we're not able to agree to be able to provide those design elements.
So if I could, so just for clarification, the existing condition talks about improving Balm Road between its easternmost and westernmost Balm access driveways, which I would understand to mean this that's being shown here as one of the options, and actually the only option for this particular PD being the westernmost access, and the easternmost would be further east, I believe, at Shelley Lane. And then the condition then talks about improvement proceeding westward to the next standard county road, and that is the area that would be modified to say limited to what can fit, design exception shall be limited to accommodating things that can fit in the existing right-of-way corridor. But just want to clarify, the eastern access point on this plan is actually shown at or a little bit east of Shelley Lane.
I'm starting to wonder if we should continue this so that staff can work
I'm wondering as well, maybe.
with the applicant to make sure that we don't give away anymore, but get some simply, I'm just looking for specificity in the public record. And I was hoping to do that with these roads that are allowing the design exceptions administratively, so that the public and the Balm community and the commissioners understand what is going on here as we're approving some kind of major realignment of the road. So I'll change my motion to continue to let staff work this out with the applicant about exactly what they can commit to here, and as far as possible, take out the old-fashioned process of administrative approval.
So we have a motion.
Second. Commissioners, we can tell you exactly what we can commit to right now. There's no need to continue. This graphic indicates the extent to which we can make a commitment right now. We're not inclined to continue if we can prevent it. This again, what we're contemplating, we understand the nexus between this and access points, but this is not part of our request today. And we're happy to take a few moments to make sure that we're providing a coherent message here as to what we're willing to commit to.
I'm sorry.
But this is it.
The applicant, I didn't recognize you at this time to speak, but I just want to, but that having been said, which is fine, I'm just wondering if Commissioner Smith still wants to move forward with a continuance.
Because I think it's unclear here, how much we had previously required 672 to be looked at as possible improvements, and what might need to be waived. So my motion is for a continuance.
Okay, we have a motion for a continuance by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Myers. Do we have any further board discussion? Commissioner White?
Is that a continuance to the end of this meeting or to another meeting? To the next meeting.
Madam Chairman.
1 second. Okay, Commissioner Myers.
Thank you. What we're doing this morning is we're continuing to put stress on staff, trying to have questions answered on the spot, when we should continue to allow them to go back and come back at the next month's meeting. That has happened on the first item and now this item, and it's unfair to staff to try to give us answers right away when we know April is coming and we should take care of some of these things in April. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers, for that point. And I don't see if there's any other commissioners who would like to speak. Commissioner White.
So this item should theoretically work cohesively with the last item that we just approved, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, I'd like to ask the applicant, what would it mean for them in terms of planning, starting work, finances, all those things, if this were continued to next month?
Commissioner, without overstepping what should be the parameters of this hearing, it would be catastrophic for this to be continued. My instructions are to not allow that to happen, either by rectifying this today or likely withdrawing the case if we're pushed again, which just is that's a business decision. It has nothing to do with what we're asking today. That just is what it is.
Commissioner.
We're more than
Commissioner
willing
White.
to make commitments
Okay.
on those 2 design exceptions.
I'm sorry. Commissioner White, we're going to just limit this at this time to a board discussion. I think we've heard from the applicant and
Well, I'm ready to vote on the item today. I don't want to continue this to the next meeting.
okay. I don't see any other board discussion at this point. So, and I'll just say, I just think it's a really good point that Commissioner Myers made. I think it's just very difficult on staff. And, if this can't be worked out, it's a point well taken. I think there has been a lot of that today, but I think this is really good to get it worked to this specificity. And thank you for your fine tooth comb, Commissioner Smith, and to the residents who have come in and shown such a caring about their community and the future of their community. As you say, it's a very important framework for things to continue. It's setting a plan in place. And with that, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Myers. If we could have, I'm sorry, Mr. Gormley.
Just to announce the date of the next land use meeting is April 14th at 10 a.m. I'm sorry, April 13th at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Sorry,
And
9 a.m. I'm so sorry.
okay, great. 9 a.m. Yes, exactly. We thought we were going to get to sleep in another hour. So with that, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Kemp,
Yes.
Hagan,
No.
Myers,
Yes.
White,
No.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried 4-2. Commissioners Hagan and White voted no.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta.
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E4 on the agenda. This is a personal appearance 21-0048. Commissioners, I'll refer to the Elmo. This site is located just south of Waters Avenue. This is Waters Avenue to the north. It fronts Hanley Road. This is Hanley Road moving south, 12 Oaks Boulevard. And the site is located along Hanley Road on the west side. Commissioners, this is a very minor request to permit an accessory structure approximately 408 feet on an existing planned development that has a church on the site. The location of the proposed accessory structure will be on the very northwest corner of the site, and they're also proposing a 3-inch encroachment into the buffer in that area. So they're seeking relief to that. More precisely, this is the site plan, indicates where the church design, how it's laid out, the parking lot, and the structure we're talking about will be located right there in the very northwest part of the site. Staff has evaluated this along the structure location and the encroachment by three inches into the buffer. We are recommending approval with conditions. We feel it's consistent and compatible with your original intent in the plan development, and also would be in harmony with the surrounding area, and we are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And is the applicant present?
Good morning. Chris McNeil of McNeil Engineering representing the applicant. I'm here to answer any questions. I think Mr. Moreta presented the case very well. Please let me know if you have any.
Thank you. And with that, we'll have open this public hearing. And do we have any proponents present to speak? Proponents are speaking in favor of this? And hearing none. Do we have any opponent testimony? Those against E4? And hearing none, I'll move to I guess there's no applicant rebuttal at this time, so I'll close the public hearing and move to board discussion. Do we have a motion or discussion?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Myers. And I'm seeing no discussion at this time. Can we have a roll call vote?
Kemp,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta?
Thank you, Commissioners. This takes us to item E5 on the agenda, personal appearance 21-0064. I'll refer to the Elma. Commissioners, this is Vandenberg Drive along to the west of the site. This is Oakville Drive along to the north of the site. This is the Brandon Regional Hospital. The proposal is to add 22,569 square feet in the southern area of the site. Again, this is Vandenberg Drive. The applicant's also requesting a setback reduction in this area outlined in the red in the oval area. They're reducing the setback. The existing setback is 84.7. They're asking for a setback of 58.4, which is a 26.3-foot reduction. Staff found it to be compatible with the surrounding area and with the intent of the original site plan. We are recommending approval of conditions, and we are available if you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
We are, Commissioner. Good morning. Clayton Bricklemeyer, 601 North Ashley Drive. For the applicant, Joe did a good job summarizing the case. We just want to thank staff for their work on this important addition, and my team is available for questions.
Thank you. With that, this is a public hearing. Do we have any proponent testimony? Anyone to speak for the project? E5? And hearing none, do we have any opponent testimony? Those opposed to E5? Hearing none, I'm assuming the applicant has no rebuttal to make at this time. We'll move to close the public hearing, move to board discussion or motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Myers. I do not see any other board discussion at this time. Can we have a roll call vote?
Kemp,
Yes?
Hagan. Apologize. Myers,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta?
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E6. This is personal appearance 21-0160. Commissioners, this was opened and continued at the last board meeting due to citizen concern. The board requested that staff meet with the citizen, which has been done, and I believe Adam will be speaking to that after our initial presentation. Commissioners, I will refer you to Elmo. This is where the site is located. To the north of the site is College Avenue. We have 10th Street Southwest. Along the western portion to the north, we have 10th Avenue Southwest. To the south, we have CSX rail line. Commissioners, the request was to modify the tree plantings that will occupy the required buffer area in the existing plan development approval. So they're asking to modify certain areas within the existing buffer. The buffer area is not changing in those areas. There also will be a 6-foot opaque fence that will be provided. What is changing in certain areas will be the tree planting, where there's a view from residential structures of the site. The site will have tree plantings every 20 feet, which will be grand oaks. Where there isn't a clear view of the site from residential, the buffer will contain tree plantings consisting of live oaks that will be spaced 40 feet apart. And within the area within the live oaks will be Royal Poinciana and Sable Palm. If there's questions about the actual tree planting request that they've made as an alternative to the typical tree plantings, we have natural resources staff available to speak specifically to the trees. And I'm going to ask Israel Monsanto now to walk you through more specifics of where the buffer and screening is located on site and where the changes are located, and also where the land development code requires screening and buffering and where it does not. And this is all rooted either in the land development code or in the existing plan development approval. So again, the request is to modify the tree plantings within certain areas of the buffer, and I'll turn it over to Israel Monsanto. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Israel Monsanto, Development Services. I will do a quick share of the screen. What I'm going to share on the screen, Commissioners, is what you have also on the backup. This is the site plan for the PRS. I will share the screen for a few minutes. Commissioners, the buffer area that's required per the plan development district is highlighted here on the north portion of the northwest, and also areas on the southwest of the site. The applicant did an update of the plan. It has now, it's color coded. The green areas is where the type B buffer is being provided for the plan development, and the red areas is the modified screening that the applicant is proposing through this application. Also, as Mr. Moreta stated, the land development code doesn't require the buffer or screening along right-of-ways, in this case along 10th Street, 10th Avenue and 10th Street here. Now, for the plan development, the applicant provided buffer and screening along this section of the road. So again, the plan development requires this buffer and screening in these areas, highlighted areas, and then for the land development code, the remaining areas are not required. And that's, again, this is an updated site plan that the applicant provided for clarity purposes. And I am available if you have any questions pertaining to these statements.
Thank you. And at this time, if we have the applicant present. You're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jake Kramer with Stearns Weaver Miller, 401 East Jackson Street, number 2100. Commissioners, we've got our full project team here today, including our land planner, project manager, engineer, and landscape designer, in case you have any questions about the presentation. I'd just like to remind you of the background of this project. This was designated as an economic development opportunity by your economic development department. This is looking north at the site, Commissioners. This project, the landowners made an investment to date of about $24 million, and at build out, it'll be over $30 million. This was a very, very raw site, Commissioners. It was worse than an undeveloped site. It was an abandoned fish farm, and it's taken us a number of years to get to where we are today. We had to engage with EPC for a number of years to deal with environmental concerns they had about that abandoned fish farm use. And we were able, this shows you the literally hundreds of pits of this abandoned fish farm that we're almost done getting filled in. So these are some photographs of where we are, Commissioners. This project is almost constructed. Essentially, there's two medical manufacturing, state-of-the-art medical manufacturing buildings on the east side of the property. This is looking east. You can see the buildings in the distance, the stormwater pond in the center, and then the partially wooded area on the west side of the property. There are some fish ponds there that are still remaining. The reason for that is that the natural resources permit was phased so that the first fish ponds on the east side were first filled in, and now we're filling in the ponds on the west. The invasives have been cleared throughout the entire site, After the last meeting, the board directed us as well as county staff to meet. I'm going to move forward to the slide that Israel showed. Commissioners, we met with Mr. Blasco as the board directed us to. He had a number of concerns. I will point out that neither Mr. Blasco nor any of the public comments and calls that we received in this application, no one had any concerns whatsoever about the nature of this specific request to substitute certain plant types for the buffering. Mr. Blasco did have some concerns. I think we've worked through most or almost all of those. His first concern was getting the former fish ponds all completely filled in. There are some fish ponds, again, I mentioned that we don't have filled in yet on the yellow area on this diagram, and we've committed to him to get those filled in. We do have the permit in hand from the county now. We have a contract that's being negotiated to get those taken care of, and we're going to commit to getting those filled, commissioners, within 4 months, and we hope to do it sooner. Mr. Blasco also had a concern about the ditch on 10th Avenue. So it would be the just to the north, basically, of the yellow area you see there, commissioners. My understanding, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that Public Works is going to be going out to do some work on that ditch and remove some invasive species in the county right-of-way in that area. And then Mr. Blasco's third concern was whether we would be maintaining the fence that we've placed along 10th Ave. And again, I let him know that we would commit on the record to maintaining that fence. What I suggested to Mr. Blasco was after the county goes out and does its work in the right-of-way, then we will go out with him. We'll invite natural resources staff out, and we're already under a requirement to have removed all the invasive species. If when we look at the property line and the county has removed its share of the invasives, if there are any remaining, we will get those removed, commissioners. And so, commissioners, I think we made a lot of progress. I think we're there, in repairing that neighbor relationship. So with that, I'm just going to ask our land planner, David Smith, to give a couple of brief comments on the nature of the actual request. And commissioners, we just ask that you, focus your decision today on the request itself. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. David Smith, 401 East Jackson Street, 33601, Suite 2100. As Mr. Kramer indicated, the request today and in the graphic before you is to provide for alternative species in essentially the red areas on the site plan before you. These red areas are indicative of there's heavy vegetation on the other side of the fence as well. Also that there's no single-family homes immediately abutting these areas. Matter of fact, the property to the north is zone CG and has some houses along College. There is one house up on 4th where the green is shown on the east side of the property. And there's also a single-family, 2 single-family homes that are the little square that's due west. Also, there are 3 single-family homes along 10th Street, and those would have the red areas because of their distance from the subject property. I think the graphic and the aerial that I've shown here is basically showing those houses that currently exist along 10th Street and the distance and separation plus some intervening trees. The area that is currently treed is the future location of a tree farm. It's an undeveloped area. It's not approved for commercial development or any development other than the tree farm at this time. So that's the extent of the request. The client likes these trees. He has a tree farm and he grows some of these trees, and he believes it just provides for a better look to the buffer area. And we have had no comments or concerns raised by any of the abutting property owners with respect to the change out of these trees. We have our landscape architect available to answer any questions about the species, and we can answer any other questions that you may have.
Thank you. And is that the finished applicant's presentation? With that, this is a public hearing. There are three people that are signed up to speak, so I'll call on them, and there may be others. But I guess first I'll open it up to any proponent testimony, those speaking for the project. I don't have it listed by that on my sheet. Proponent testimony. Okay, and seeing none, I'll move to opponent testimony. And I don't know if I have Constance Silver signed up to speak. Opponent testimony, any of those opposed? I also have Ron Wademan.
Madam Chair, I believe they are signed up as the applicant. All
Oh,
three of
I'm
them.
sorry, excuse me, okay.
I apologize.
And Katie Magley, okay. Okay, is there anybody in opposition there or signed up? All right, not
Yes,
signed
there
up,
is
but,
one member of opposition
okay.
in person.
Good morning. My name is Louis Blasco, regarding 807 10th Avenue Southwest. I have not been sworn.
To clerk, can we swear?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Sir, if you could move a little closer to the mic. Go ahead, you're recognized. You can speak.
Yes. Oh, okay. I had a number of items that I was going to go over today, previous to a meeting just a few minutes ago with Mr. Kramer and Mr. Smith and Mr. Moreno and one other staff member. I can't remember his name, but I believe that we had a productive meeting. Mr. Kramer was very thoughtful, reasonable. I suppose that my thrust is I think that the commissioner mentioned last time was what recourse will we have if this is the last time that the public will be able to, or the commission will be able to address the issue that we find our need attendant. I don't know how soon thereafter this meeting and the work that needs to be completed, either the certificate of occupancy or certificate of completion will be granted, and there will be no more opportunities to address some of the concerns that myself and my neighbors have. Regarding the condition of the site, although we have spoken to, and I heard Mr. Kramer speak to it, the issue of the swale would be a county issue, but I believe that it may have also to do with a map that I have that shows that the swale was originally intended to go into the owner's property. I believe the swale is landlocked on the north and south sides, and it is probably the only swale in my general area that holds water almost constantly. It has dead vegetation in it, which off-gasses. It's a nuisance for especially mosquitoes, not only along 10th Avenue, but also up next to my property, 807, which flows north to College, goes under College and into an unapproved park at that location. Speaking to one of the administrators at the school, the First Christian School, the First Baptist Church there, I just wondered how they got along, especially after dusk. And she said it's a real problem for them. And she said to say that you could saddle the mosquitoes and sell pony rides, that they're that thick. I say the no-see-ums, the midges, and the mosquitoes are a real problem for enjoying our properties in and around the area, especially for those school children that have activities after dusk with field lights. So I don't know, other than cleaning the ditch, using a grate all, which is just going to make the swale deeper, which makes it just simply longer for it to, it's going to either evaporate or it's going to percolate because it has nowhere to drain to. I find that I don't know because I wasn't given a map that's supposed to exist that shows the drainage plane, excuse me, other than excuse me, other than the map that I was given by the county that showed the flow of the swales in that area, which indicated that it flowed into the owner's property. As far as maintenance going forward and the timing, appreciate the fact that the fish ponds were originally intended to be filled in phasing, which I was unaware of, so I appreciate that. 4 months is reasonable as long as it's in the works and it's something that's binding. That's great. And also, Mr. Kramer spoke to removing any pepper trees that were left over from mitigation done by the county regarding pepper tree removal in along that area. But, and also spoke to maintaining the fence. But the last remaining issue was what's behind the fence right now and what type of maintenance we'll have to look at. So this is, I believe, is nothing really for the county, but I just wanted to say it aloud here today in lieu of everything else that I had proposed to say. But I think this is something that's, Mr. Kramer is extremely reasonable and thoughtful, and I think there can be some accommodation going forward to mitigate the look of an exposed chain link fence with barbed wire on top of it directly across the street from myself and my neighbors. I think we can come to some agreement on that. I don't think the county will have anything to say about it, as I'm learning that there are different rules on that side of the street than there are on my side of the street regarding what can be installed. My point would be that although it can be installed, should it be installed when you mix residential with, I'm not quite sure if it's zoned as agricultural, if it's zoned industrial. I'm not sure which zoning allows it, but I appreciate the efforts so far from Mr. Kramer. I think we can come to some arrangement on that. So I would like to have the drainage plane map to see what that is. A fellow by the name of Mario came out along with another person and said that he had a map that showed the drainage of the area as it was originally intended to work. So I can't imagine that that it's actually meeting that original intent at this time, and would ask that someone make that map available to me to see what the larger picture of that area is, to ascertain whether or not it's actually, as they contend, is operating as originally designed to, without any modifications needed by the applicant to modify it as a part of their development. I would just like to close by saying that I'm very happy to have spoken with all of you and with the representatives of the owner, especially Mr. Kramer, who I think that was very knowledgeable and very accommodating today. So I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other opponents? Anyone else in opposition?
No, ma'am.
Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and, I guess applicant rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Jake Kramer again for the record. I'll keep it brief. I do want to say I appreciate Mr. Blasco taking the time. We had a couple of calls with him. We also had another meeting this morning. He's been very good to work with. And look, this project has taken longer than I think any of us have wanted it to. We would have wished that the site weren't in so bad of a shape. But we are almost there, and I think we've had good dialogue with Mr. Blasco. Commissioners, I know that that we don't always necessarily agree with each other here, but I think all of you know that when I tell you I'll do something, that I get it done. And again, what I've committed to doing with Mr. Blasco is we're going to get those fish ponds filled within 4 months. We're going to work with the county to make sure that the work that they've committed to get done is going to get done. And then we're going to go out to the site with Mr. Blasco and Natural Resources after that work is completed and make sure his concerns are resolved. So I appreciate your time today, and we just ask for your approval. And the final note I'll make is, look, if we're going to get this done, but if we don't, these are all of this work is tied to active permits, and code enforcement will be, I sense that code enforcement will be watching to make sure we get it done at this point. So would ask for your approval. Again, there were no objections to the request before you today to the buffers themselves. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll bring up this screen again so I can see. Do we have a motion, board discussion?
Move approval of the item.
Okay. Commissioner White, move its approval.
Second.
Commissioner Meyer, seconds. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, and I'm going to support the motion. I am really glad that we did continue it for the work that has been able to be done between staff, the applicant, and the neighbor about the ditches and drainage. It is a problem, and I understand those ditches have low spots that are holding water, and the mosquitoes are seriously a problem. And I would urge this citizen, if the mosquitoes continue to be a problem from fish ponds or the ditches, to get in touch with mosquito control on the county website. You can report that, and they are very diligent about coming out and spraying. If you have any trouble figuring that out, please call my office and we will help you. And we'll help with ongoing drainage issues as well, to the extent that we can. I'm also glad that the continuance addressed the old-fashioned way of doing the design exceptions administratively. So although those were approved in 2017 and, well, previously in a couple of earlier years, at least now they've become part of the record, and we get them out in a public forum. Unfortunately, the exceptions have been approved. Because, and just briefly, at the original zoning hearing, the citizens put photos of these roads on the record, the substandard roads, with the understanding that the condition was they would be brought up to county standards unless otherwise approved by some, this kind of wonky language, and that meant that they got otherwise approved. They got otherwise approved to be able to be left substandard with only a addition of a sidewalk on 10th and 4th Street. And so the developer does not improve the road to county standards. And in this case, it's a fine project. Don't get me wrong, it is a fine project, except for it's going to be putting a lot of industrial truck traffic and employee traffic on these little neighborhood roads that are not going to be brought up to our standard. And so, I just want to highlight how that happens. When we allow design exceptions, they put, and in this case, not only does the developer not improve the road, but the developer here pays 0 mobility fees. zero mobility fees because the county agreed to let the taxpayers pay this developer's mobility fees for them. And the county, in another agreement, agreed to discount this applicant's property taxes 50% for 5 years. So the county gives them waivers and discounts and economic incentives, and hopefully they will bring jobs to the area. But meanwhile, how are these streets ever going to be improved? The developer's not required to improve them. They're not required to pay mobility fees, so the county doesn't get the money to improve them. And they even get 50% off their property taxes, so we don't have that ad valorem funding. And meanwhile, we all know the county has no funds to improve roads like this, and this is how our roads remain among the most dangerous in America. We allow development to add traffic, including truck traffic, to substandard roads, and we don't require them to improve the roads. We don't require them to pay enough to improve the roads, and we can't improve them. So it's a problem. I'll support this because the problem was already agreed to before my time, but I wanted to point out that citizens have had concerns about these roads, and they're not being brought up to standard in this case. I appreciate the developer has put a lot of money into this project, but not into bringing the roads up to county standards. So thank you.
Thank you. And did anyone else have comments? That was a teachable moment, I guess. So thank you. And I just wanted to, just for a second, Mr. Glasgow made a couple of requests in there, and I know you spoke to some of them, Commissioner Smith, but I think he asked that a map be available to him of drainage that he wasn't getting. So I'm just asking for staff to please provide that. I think that's what I heard. Mr. Gormley, you were going to...
Yes, I believe that he was asking for an overall drainage map from the county system, and we can work the appropriate folks to get that to him.
Great. And the other thing, I know you addressed it about the mosquitoes, Commissioner Smith, but as well, I'd just like him to know that after this project is over, because he expressed some concerns about in the future, should things kind of go south or he has some issues, that it is the right of any citizen to come to any of our regular BOCC meetings, and we have public comment for 45 minutes, and each person gets 3 minutes, and he can come here at any time if he finds that there are concerns that he can first call commissioners' offices and we can process it there, but if you're not being listened to, that is your avenue in the future once this project's completed. So I just like him to, and everyone to understand and know that as well. With that, I don't see that there are any other comments here or questions. So we'll take a roll call vote. We have I'm sorry, it was Commissioner White's motion, Commissioner Myers' second. Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Moreta.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to, again, speak from the overhead. This is
I don't think your mic is on.
Can you hear me now?
No?
Testing?
That's better.
I'll try it again. This is item E7.
It's very low volume. Is there something that can be done?
Maybe it's the mask. I don't know.
No, it's not. There's something with the mic.
Testing?
I guess at this point we can go ahead, but because we can hear you, but it's very difficult because it's so low volume. Maybe our technical staff can work with that and you can continue.
Thank you. we can certainly hear me in here because it's very loud in here. This is personal appearance 21-0229. And commissioners, I'll refer to the overhead. The overhead to the north of the site, the project has frontage on Big Bend Road. The area depicted in red is the area that was submitted in the application as the ownership. Commissioners, this plan development actually has frontage on Big Bend Road from the CSX rail line, approximately all the way to Interstate 75. The red is the area of the ownership. It is organized between Waterset Boulevard to the west and Covington Garden Road to the east. Within that particular red area, the specific area for change is on the north portion of the area in the previous map that was depicted for red. This is a very minor addition of the townhome development product into this particular tract, which is tract 5. The townhome product is already permitted within the plan development as a whole. They're seeking to permit it in tract 5. Tract 5 already permits hotel, multifamily, office uses. This is in the Waterset DRI. It's not proposing any additional entitlements, only to insert the townhome product in that tract. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. We're available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And the applicant, is the applicant present?
Yes, Truett Gardner, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Good morning to you. As Joe mentioned, this is a part of a PD as well as a DRI. Just to put it in perspective, the overall PD encompasses about 615 acres, and this pertains to a 20-acre tract, which is tract 5 within that overall PD. And the nature of the request is really two different items. As Joe mentioned, in tract 5, multifamily is already a permitted use. We're simply just clarifying that townhomes can also be considered in tract 5. And then secondly, the way the design standards currently are for that tract, it simply refers to RMC 12, which is good and workable for an overall multifamily apartment development, but not for a townhome development. So we're inserting specific design criteria for the townhome development within tract 5. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. And with that, we will move to proponent testimony. Those in support of E7, proponent testimony.
Commissioner, the hearing room is unoccupied at this point, so it would be someone that would be virtual, if any.
Thank you. It looked pretty empty. Okay, and hearing none, will opponent testimony, is there anybody online? Opponent testimony? And seeing none, I'm assuming the applicant will waive rebuttal?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And with that, we'll close public hearing, move to the board discussion motion. What's the board's pleasure?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Myers moved approval, seconded by Commissioner White. And seeing Commissioner Smith, do you have your hand up for this? Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else, board members wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Kim?
Yes.
Hagan? Yes. Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Moreta. Mr. Moreta.
Thank you, Commissioners. This brings us to item E8. This is CDD 21-0052. This is a petition that's been submitted by Balm Grove LLC to establish the Balm Grove CDD. The Balm Grove CDD will encompass approximately 267 acres located to the west of the east side of Balm Road, south of County Road 672 in Balm. There was no objections proposed to the CDD by the reviewing agencies, and staff finds the application meets the requirements of Chapter 190 Florida statutes to establish CDD development districts, and we are recommending approval. And we do have appropriate staff available if you have questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm present virtually. Brian Lamb, for the
Okay.
record, and I've been sworn.
Okay, did you have anything to say?
I have nothing to say other than we appreciate staff's time and diligence in the review, and look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you. And do we have this public hearing? Do we have any proponent testimony, those in support?
No, ma'am.
And do we have any opponent testimony, those in opposition?
No, ma'am.
And I do have, and I guess it's from the room, and maybe the applicant, Dana Collier, is.
Yes, I'm a part of the applicant team.
Okay, that was on my list here, that's why I asked. And seeing that, I'm assuming the applicant will be waiving rebuttal?
Confirmed.
And we'll close the public hearing, move to board discussion. Is there a motion or?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Hagan moved approval and Commissioner Myers seconded. And is there any board discussion of this item? And seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Kim?
Yes?
Hagan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Okay, and with that, I think we are off our regular agenda, and we will move at this time to the Land Development Code Amendment Workshop.
Madam Chair, we do have one other item, a commissioner item that's on the agenda. It
Oh, on
appears-
this, I thought it was
Yes.
maybe on the next, when I was
I'm sorry,
looking
it was
through here.
just
I was
from
trying
the
to figure
order.
this out. Okay,
Yes.
sorry. On the script, it looked a little different. Okay, I'm sorry. And, well, let's move to Commissioner White's item. I've been looking forward to it, so it wasn't.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My item's straightforward. You know, there was a time in this county when they would dig these borrow pits out in the middle of nowhere, and there really aren't any places in this county that are out in the middle of nowhere anymore. So I think it's important when someone wants to engage in that activity that we hear from the community and iron out any concerns that the community may have. So my motion is to direct staff to bring back a land development code amendment that will bring special use permits for land excavation directly to the Board of County Commissioners for a public hearing and decision.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Smith, and I don't know if anyone would like to speak to this. Seeing none, except that thank you for bringing it forward is my
Yeah.
my 2 cents. So with that, we'll take a roll call vote.
Kim?
Yes.
Hagan? Yes. Myers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And with that, now, I guess, Mr. Moreno, we will move to, or I guess at this point, we're going to move to the Land Development Code Amendment Workshop. And
Thank you, Commissioner. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
This brings us up to the Land Development Code Amendment Workshop for round 1 of this year. And Israel Monsanto has a brief PowerPoint. In addition to that, I believe Adam wants to speak to, Mr. Gorman wants to speak to the first 2 slides, and we are available for questions on any of the slides as well. So I'll turn it over to Israel Monsanto at this point. Thank you.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Israel Monsanto, Development Services. I will do screen share. And Chris, let me know if I need to swap.
Your volume as well is a little low.
And you do need to swap, Mr. Monsanto.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Better.
All right, thanks. Commissioners, this is the workshop for the land development text amendments for round 1, 2021. The first public hearing will be on April 15th, and the second public hearing for this round will be May 20th. We have 2 items that were continued from the previous round, and the first 2 items, 200721 and 0722, And then we have a new item for this round, which is 210416, sufficiency review meetings. The first item, again, you're familiar with it, is public testimony by a party of record. The purpose is to allow public testimony by a party of record at the Board of County Commissioners land use meetings for rezoning applications without requiring party of records to file requests for the oral argument. It will be permissible for party of records to provide testimony without first having to go through the oral argument request. And anyone requesting to provide public testimony before the board will still need to qualify as a party of record, and the testimony needs to be within the record of the hearing before the land use hearing officer. And Mr. Gormley will provide additional comments for this amendment.
So Commissioners,
Yes, Mr. Gormley.
this item was before the board previously. It was in last year's round of LDC amendments. It was continued by the board in response to some concerns that were expressed at the public hearing. I did hold a meeting with those who came and spoke at the hearing, as well as a open public meeting virtually to anybody who cared to attend. The feedback that we got from both of those discussions there was some concern about the changing of the term oral argument to public testimony, not the form itself, but using that terminology. There was some concern expressed that might imply that the record was opened up by use of the word testimony as opposed to oral argument. So in response to that, we have changed it back to oral argument and not made the change to the term public testimony. Substantively, it doesn't change the effect or intent of the amendment, but we believe that will help clear up what might have been some confusion about what the change would entail. If this amendment is moved forward and passed by the board before it becomes effective, we will need to have a different methodology for determining what goes on the consent agenda and what doesn't go on the consent agenda. Today, there are 3 things that are independent of oral argument that do not go on consent, and those are applications that increase residential density in the rural service area, applications that are on a failing road, or applications that don't have consistent recommendations between the Planning Commission, Development Services, and the Zoning Hearing Master. If one of those 3 is different than the other 2, it doesn't go on the consent agenda. Currently, the other metric for deciding what goes on consent and regular is whether oral argument was filed. So I just put that on the record for discussion at the appropriate time with the board of that. That would be another element that we would need to work out with this amendment. And available for any questions.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay.
Yes, me.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Smith.
Right. Commissioners, this item is very important to me as someone who has participated in the zoning process on both sides of this dais, as a citizen and as an elected official. So I am committed to doing everything I can to make this process more open and accessible to the people we serve. Since this is a workshop, I'm not going to go into great detail, but I would ask you all to, because I've found that commissioners who've been here for eons don't really have an understanding of what the citizen goes through to get up here and speak to us. And so I would just ask you to please review that current procedure, which is now added to the backup of the item. If you just glance through it, you will see it is a maze of intimidating red tape and pointless restrictions that citizens have had to navigate just to be able to speak to their elected officials about a zoning matter that may impact their home, their property, or their neighborhood. So please look through that 10-page packet. It's in your backup with the daunting 2-page form at the back that citizens are currently mandated to complete and submit within a short little time window before a deadline that can be weeks or months ahead of the hearing that comes to us. And if they don't go through all that, they don't get to speak to their elected officials at a public hearing. So time after time, they're thwarted, and we don't hear from the citizens. And sometimes they come here, but they're told they can't speak to us because they didn't make it through all those hoops. So this Land Development Code amendment would streamline that and make it easier for citizens to speak to their officials. I'll point out just one other thing is no other county in Florida has that process. No other city. City of Tampa doesn't. Nobody else does that. So removing this is not, a big deal that it just puts us on a footing with every place else in Florida, probably every place in America. As far as the consent agenda goes, I will point out that today's agenda had, half a dozen E items that were all PRS items. Those items have come before us with no requirement for oral argument. The only requirement for oral argument is stuff that goes to the zoning hearing. So we're already hearing items here that did not go through this process of citizen oral argument. We're all surprised when we get here. Who's going to show up? Who knows? Whoever shows up, shows up. The developers are surprised. We're surprised, and we just hear it. It's not that onerous for us to just allow that free flow of ideas. I don't think the consent agenda will be a big issue. That can still have the three things we have. We can say if there hasn't been participation at the zoning hearing, that could determine whether it goes on consent or not. And Mr. Gormley, did you have a suggestion to that effect?
Well, to those along those lines, there could be a clean line drawn if the decision were to have applications on the regular agenda where there's been some participation in building the record below versus not, and that would be applications that had somebody appear and present evidence or testimony at the zoning hearing master, or submit evidence into the record in advance of the zoning hearing master. If that would be a line that would draw a distinction between those applications that have had some participation below in building the record versus those that did not.
Thank you. And I just, Commissioner Smith, this is so important. I'll just, won't take much more time, but I mean, it has just been frustrating to see citizens thwarted with this Byzantine process that, as you said, is nowhere else. It's just amazing because I read through other processes, and it's just, I think it's incredible that we have it to this moment. But what it does to citizens, to see that packet online, that's like legalese and whatever. But I mean, even for me, if the packet and the sign up wasn't intimidating, to be able to keep track of the schedule that you have the hearing master, then you have to wait for the hearing master's decision before, so you have that window after that decision, but before the hearing to sign up. It's just, it's amazing anyone gets through at all, quite honestly. And I know that it's sometimes done in a group process, which was the only way that I can imagine it ever gets done. So it's really important just to get rid of this. It's just a terrible barrier for people, and it's, I just think it's profoundly unfair to citizens who want to comment or have, an interest in the developments that are in their area and have something to say. It's really hurts us as a county. So thank you for bringing that forward. And I guess we can move to the next item. I'm sorry, Commissioner Overman, I'm sorry.
No, it's quite all right. It's quite all right. Thank you very much. I just wanted some clarification because when I'm looking at the slide that's in front of us, so is this suggesting that anyone who is a party of record, which would be anyone that's notified of a land use, meeting for rezoning application, would be able to provide testimony at the BOCC land use meetings with or without participating in the zoning meeting? And if so, how would they provide testimony that will still need to be part of the record of the hearing before the land use hearing officer? I'm probably just as confident as many of our citizens trying to figure this out. So could get some clarification for me there, just in case I missed something?
Yes, Commissioner, the amendment as drafted would allow a party of record to speak before the board, limited to the established record on any rezoning application on the regular agenda. So the item about determining what goes on consent and regular is an important component of that. If the direction were to have applications that did not have any participation below at the zoning hearing master or in advance go on consent, then those would be applications that there wouldn't be an opportunity for oral argument. Conversely, for those, if that was the direction taken, those applications that would be on regular agenda would be those that have had some input evidence submitted into the record prior to coming to the board, and any party of record, whether they get it by being mailed notice or participating in the hearing, would be able to speak to that application and that record that was established without have the need for them to file for oral argument.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed clarification on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move to our next item.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item, 20-0722, this item was also continued from the previous round. This is the time limit to approve plan development districts, general site plans, and the purpose of this amendment is to establish a time limit of 5 years to the approved PD general development plans after rezoning approval by the Board of County Commissioners. The time limit would apply to the internal transportation network and external access point, as well as any condition related to the internal transportation network and access points. If site construction plans are approved for PD district within that 5 years of the effective date of adoption of the PD rezoning, or any latest modification to that PD, the general development plan would remain valid until the expiration date of that initially approved site construction plans, or any other subsequent construction plans approved prior to the expiration of the general development plan for the PD. Upon expiration of the certified PD plan, recertification of that PD plan will require a minor modification or PRS to the plan development district, and a 1-year extension will also be permitted for PD general site plans. Mr. Gromley will also provide some additional comments, Commissioners.
Commissioners, this also was a amendment that was heard at the first public hearing in last year's round of amendments and continued to this round. Also held as part of the same meeting, met with those who appeared and provided comments, and had a open public meeting for any additional comments. What we heard and what was presented before the board, and what I heard, was that there are unintended consequences associated with the 5-year absolute time frame that would perhaps impede financing or other development schedules, particularly for larger phased projects. In response to that, we've amended this request to provide a 5-year window for a general site plan to be to get construction plan approval, plans for the internal infrastructure, and with an opportunity for 1-year extension. Without that, the general site plan, internal road network, and access points would expire and need to come back to the board for approval, and that was what was before the board last time. What I've added to this amendment is a language that would provide that if construction plans are approved within that 5-year limit, then the general site plan would remain valid for the life of those construction plans or any other on-site construction plans that were approved before any set was expired. So you basically have the 5-year window, and then within that, if construction plans are approved, then the general site plan would remain intact until such time as either the project is completed, in which case the project is done, or those construction plans expire. I will say that I am still getting some feedback on this, some as recently as last Thursday, getting some good input, and one point that was raised to me, which I think has merit and would like to add to this amendment, is that the 5-year time frame is a default time frame, but provide the opportunity for the applicant to make a case for why that time frame might need to be varied to the board, which the board could approve in lieu of the 5-year time frame. That was offered in the context of was represented as a challenge with determining now what time frame might be appropriate for any project. So I think that's a valid consideration. So I would offer to come with that language that would give the board the opportunity to provide for a different expiration time if that was justified by the applicant. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by the board? I'm just pleased to see this being taken up again. And with that, we'll move to the next item.
Thank you, Commissioners. That brings us to the next and third text amendment. This is LDC 210416. This text amendment would create a sufficiency review meeting for rezoning applications, and the purpose is repurposing the mandated today. There is a pre-application submittal conference, and then will be a mandated meeting post-application submittal. So this would enable a mandated meeting, placing time for review process where staff comments have the greatest benefit to the applicant and the process. Staff and applicant communication will be based on refined application materials, and current pre-application submittal meetings are mandated again. However, these are based on draft materials that are provided by the applicant and often changed prior to the formal application submittal. These new meetings this text amendment will maintain pre-application meetings, but this will be upon request by the applicant, and they will not be mandatory anymore. And we are available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? When it was described to me, it seems like it makes a lot more sense. So I'm not sure where this originated, but process-wise, I think it'll be an improvement. Next item.
Commissioners, this ends my presentation. This ends my presentation of these 3 items.
Okay. And Mr. Moreta, at this time, do we?
Madam Chair, at this point, we are concluded with the land use agenda and the LDC workshop.
Okay. Thank you, then. I will, with that, I guess we're adjourned.
Thank you. And I believe Ms. Zornita will be.
Okay, that's what I was not.
Yes, for the
That's
for
what
the
I expect.
workshop.
Okay,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
got it. Okay, thank you. So we will have Ms. Zornita.
Good afternoon, or good morning, it's still morning. Commissioners, Melissa Zornita, Executive Director of the Planning Commission. We have a workshop on several plan amendments. The first item that was in your packet, I'll share a quick slide from this presentation that was in the backup. Is some information provided in response to a request from Commissioner Smith about an update on our 12-month work program that was directed by the board in a series of workshops at the beginning of 2020. Due to the hour getting close to lunchtime, I'm not going to go through the presentation. It's there in your backup, but I would highlight that we have outlined the items that we've completed, have ongoing, and then other projects that we have taken on behalf of the county as relates to the county's comprehensive plan. And then we, at the end of the presentation, have an outline of when the different items will be coming forward in the plan amendment process in particular. The first of those is the environmental and sustainability element, which is the first amendment on your plan amendment workshop. I'd be happy to go into more detail on the information in that slideshow with you all, either separately or at another workshop, given the time. And at this point, we'll introduce Mr. Sean College, who will go through the amendment that updates what is now the conservation aquifer recharge element into the environmental and sustainability element. Sean?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Sean College with Planning Commission staff. With me today is Diego Guerra also from Planning Commission staff, and together we've been working on the conservation and aquifer recharge element update of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Going forward, we'll be calling that the environmental and sustainability elements. And I'll share my screen now and show you a brief presentation of what we've been working on. And so this is the next update of a portion of the comprehensive plan. We recently updated the one water section of the comprehensive plan, which included stormwater, wastewater, potable water, et cetera. And now this is the first part of the chapter we're calling the natural open space. And again, it is the conservation aquifer recharge element, now the environmental sustainability element. It incorporates the January 2020 direction we got from the Board of County Commissioners at their land use workshop in regard to what they wanted to see in this update to the comprehensive plan. It utilizes the same process that we did with One Water. That was a very successful process. So we're going to use that same process to update the conservation aquifer recharge element or environmental and sustainability. We used a working group of diverse staff from both the county and the Environmental Protection Commission. We coordinated with other planning efforts. The language is now concise and targeted, and it serves as a tool to support county programs and objectives, and was thoroughly coordinated with the EPC and their programs and their rules. At the January land use workshop, some of the things we took to heart from the direction of the BOCC was to protect vital environmental assets, increase natural preservation, expand methods and tools to protect the environment, integration of environmental protection, and conservation easements as an important tool. Again, we had a very diverse work group that worked on this for some time, including different members of Hillsborough County's staff, and particularly the Environmental Lands Division, as well as Environmental Protection Commission staff. The way there weren't any major departures from how we've protected the environment in this element in the past, but it is an update of the elements, making it more concise, more targeted. The way it's organized is similar to how it has been organized. There is a goal on energy and energy reliability and alternative energy and energy conservation. There's a section and goal on industrial hazardous waste. One of the key sections is on preservation, conservation, restoration, and management of natural resource. And that's where you'll find all of the policy on air quality, soil conservation, wetlands, ecology of natural lakes and ponds, surface water, natural preserves, etc. We also maintain a section on the Cockroach Bay Aquatic Preserve and its importance to the county, as well as a section on general rivers. This area was consolidated. It was really a great opportunity. There was a great bit of duplication in the previous elements on rivers, where different policies were repeated for various rivers. So we were able to consolidate that in the river section. And we still maintain the Hillsborough River section of the master plan, a part of the comp plan, which is required by state law. Our timeline for the update of this element, we had a public meeting in February. We met with the Planning Commission yesterday, and it was a very good meeting with some direction. We're going to follow up from them. And we are having our March workshop now. We also have had a public comment ongoing since January. We hope to continue, we're going to continue that public comment till the end of this month. Our plan is to have a public hearing with the Planning Commission on the 12th of April, followed by bringing it back to you, to the Board of County Commissioners, for a transmittal hearing on April 22nd, and that would ultimately lead to a June 17 adoption hearing with the Board of County Commissioners. As I mentioned, we've been working with the public since January. We're using the same targeted outreach that we did with One Water. We've met with various groups, including agricultural interests, development interests, environmental interests, and we think we have a really good product now. And that is still open to the public for comments. It can be seen here at this link. You can also access it from our website. Plan amendments will be the drop-down screen, then unincorporated Hillsborough County, and then environmental and sustainability section is the item. We're going to continue or have feedback till the end of the month. And that concludes our briefing on the item, and Diego and I are available. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And do we have any comments? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item.
The next item is Plan Amendment 2017, which will be presented by Will Augustine.
Good morning, Commissioners. Will Augustine with the Planning Commission staff. The next agenda item before you is Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan 20-17 briefing. Chris or James, would you please start the presentation? Next slide, please. This plan amendment is located in central Hillsborough County along Bloomingdale Avenue, just west of Providence Road. It is located within the urban service area and is within the limits of the Brandon Community Plan. Next slide, please. The subject site is a privately initiated map amendment in central Hillsborough County in approximately 27 acres in size. The aerial shows that the surrounding area is predominantly single-family homes. The land use of suburban mixed-use 6, residential 6, and residential 16 predominate the area. The subject property is west of the Bloomingdale Avenue and Providence Road intersection. Interstate I-75 is to the northwest. US Highway 301 is to the southwest, and Providence Road is to the east. Next slide, please. The subject site has adopted suburban mixed-use land use classification. The areas along Bloomingdale Avenue include suburban mixed-use 6, residential 6, and residential 16. The areas along Bloomingdale Avenue are a mixture of office, commercial, and single-family, multifamily residential uses. Suburban mixed-use 6, residential 6, and residential 16 are the predominant land uses of the surrounding property. Next slide, please. The applicant is requesting a residential 16 land use change. Next slide, please. The currently adopted land use classification of suburban mixed-use 6 allows 162 dwelling units on the 27-acre site. With the land use change to residential 16, the subject site would have a potential build-out of 133 dwelling units. Suburban scale neighborhood commercial, office, or multi-purpose projects are limited to a build-out of 175,000 square feet or a floor area ratio of 0.50, whichever is less. And this concludes my presentation.
If there are no questions, we can move to the.
I'm sorry, I
next-
didn't hear, Commissioner White wants to be recognized. I didn't hear it quite end.
Thank you. Just to address any issues as we look at the specificity on development here, I had requested that we do one of the simultaneous comp plan amendments and rezonings, and it's my understanding that the applicant had already planned to do that. We're on course for that.
Yes, sir. My understanding is that the applicant does intend to have a zoning filed to run concurrently with this. It has not been filed yet, but that is the applicant's intent.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. I can't tell if you can see the hands or not now. Just to remind you, this is right to the east of one we had, I guess, last year, and there was quite a bit of consternation and going back to the drawing board to address the issue of traffic on Bloomingdale Road in this area, and eventually, the applicant, in that case, came back to us with a very detailed traffic analysis that showed that the road could accommodate their traffic as well as could be expected, given that, you know, this is an area where we do want higher density. But I just want to put on the record that I will be looking very closely at any justification for increasing traffic here. You know, eventually, sure, we're going to want to increase density in places like this with jobs and services in this urban area, but we want to make sure that the timing is going along with planned road improvements that somebody's going to pay for, us or them or somebody. So given the previous one's traffic coming along here, I just want to put on the record for the applicant's sake that that they would be wise to come here with showing how traffic from this is going to work on Bloomingdale Road, which is constrained and suffering very bad traffic. Thank you.
Okay. And are there any other commissioners that would like to speak to this? Mr. Gormley.
I just offer a correction. The rezoning has now been filed, and it is RZ 21-0222.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. And Ms. Zernito, we'll move to the next item.
Okay, great. Item A3 CPA 21-01 was continued to the next cycle of amendments. So we'll move to CPA 21-02, which will be presented by Jawan Haley.
Hi, good morning. Yes, still morning, right on the cusp here. I'm going to share my screen quickly here. Again, good morning, Commissioners. My name is
I'm sorry, your
Leonardo.
volume is very low.
How about this? Is this better?
It's better.
Okay, all right. So again, Jawan Haley, Planning Commission. I'll be presenting 2102, the Orient Road in Evansbrook Comprehensive Plan Amendment. So here you can see this is general location. It's located in eastern Hillsborough County. So this is a privately initiated amendment. It's located on 3.29 acres within the urban service area, within the limits of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. It's located immediately to the west of Orient Road. Evansbrook Road is here. You can't really see it on this map, but this is, for the general vicinity, this is north of the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Orient Road intersection, and the fairgrounds are over here to the northeast. This is just a general overview of the adopted land uses in the area. So the the subject site is requesting a change from the Research Corporate Park land use category, or RCP, and residential 6, Res 6 category to light industrial plans. This is the subject property here. There is residential 6 to the north and the east. There is office commercial 20 to the southeast. There is Research Corporate Park to the south. Light industrial plant is located here immediately to the west. This site is the subject of a more recently adopted comprehensive plan amendment. It did take the majority of the site to LIP, light industrial plan. It did leave over some of the Research Corporate Park here, Research Corporate Park further to the west, light industrial to the west here as well. So, so this is just the general development pattern in the area. So here again, the general area, but here we see the entire site being taken to LIP. So again, currently the sites are designated residential 6 and Research Corporate Park on the future land use map. The maximum density for both parcels totals 80 dwelling units. The maximum floor area ratio for RCP is 1. For Res 6, it's 175 square feet or 0.25, whichever is less. The residential 6 future land use category is subject to commercial locational criteria. RCP is not. So the proposed change would be light industrial plan. The big difference here is that there would no longer be residential development permitted on site. LIP does not permit residential uses. The maximum intensity would be 0.75 floor area ratio. Retail uses in light industrial planned are subject to commercial locational criteria. And that ends my presentation and briefing. Of course, I'm available to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any further board discussion? Seeing none, I'll just, and I don't know during briefings which of these set me off a little, and I started asking a lot of questions and got into some conversation with regards to our categories that we have that I always find so frustrating in terms of us being able to move forward in a good and knowledgeable way and make good decisions. And I'll just say that I had raised that again with Mr. Anita, that I've raised many times, and I know particularly the light industrial, sometimes the SMU 6, which allows, I just think none of it is tuned enough, and I can't believe that other communities are using this, other jurisdictions are using these kinds of categories to make good land use decisions. I find it a real, as if as handcuffed by it at times. And I'm just wondering, I know Ms. Ernita, when I'd asked before, and I'm not sure which of these that I got into that discussion about at length, but I know you said that there is, at this time, if you could just respond to that, that you are looking into consulting or looking into, that there's something planned in regards to this?
Yes, ma'am. As part of the update of the future land use element, we will be looking at whether or not some additional categories need to be created. As you've discussed before, in particular, the mixed use categories are very broad. They allow pretty much everything from agriculture to light industrial and all the uses in between, and that it might be time to begin to have some more targeted mixed use categories. So that is something certainly that we can look at as part of the update of the future land use element.
Okay, because I've, as you know, for at least a few years, I've run into this over and over and over again and felt very frustrated. I know the residents who come sometimes as well, or feel like we can't make the decisions we should be making because of those limitations. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that coming hopefully sooner rather than later. I know all these take time, but I just like to express that publicly. Sure. So next item.
Yes, ma'am. The next item is CPA 2103, which will be presented by Melissa Dickens.
Good morning, Commissioners. One moment while I load the presentation, please. Are you all seeing the presentation up on the screen at this time?
Yes.
We are. Okay, thank you very much. And I guess I should say good afternoon, barely. Melissa Dickens, Planning Commission staff. This item is a proposed text amendment to the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. It is HC CPA 2103. The amendment proposes to modify the Wellhead Resource Protection Areas map, which is adopted in the comprehensive plan. This is a briefing, of course, and there's no action required today. Wanted to start out with a little bit of context on the Wellhead Resource Protection Areas. Both the map, which is the subject of this amendment, and some general language related to the protection areas are adopted within the One Water chapter. This is part of a larger overall potable water protection strategy within Hillsborough County. So the Wellhead Resource Protection Areas are joined by surface water protection areas and potable water wellfield protection areas to form an overarching approach to protection of our drinking water. The Wellhead Resource Protection Areas in particular serves to protect the public potable water supply wells. Those are larger wells that are connected to public systems that are over a permitted threshold of 100,000 gallons per day. Or greater. So those are the Wellhead Resource Protection Areas are specifically for those larger wells connected to a public system. And although the comprehensive plan has some general language, the Wellhead Resource Protection Area details are generally implemented within the Land Development Code. The Land Development Code outlines Zone 1 and Zone 2 prohibitions and restrictions within Wellhead Resource Protection Areas, and Zone 2 has a greater number of prohibitions and restrictions and prohibited and restricted activities. A little bit of background on the amendment. This is a privately initiated amendment. The amendment, if adopted, would replace the current adopted map with an updated version. The amendment proposes to remove the public potable water supply well protection zone 2 from the area surrounding the Crystal Lake Manor wells. Those wells are in northwest Hillsborough County. The amendment would also remove the Crystal Lake Manor wells from the adopted map. And we did receive confirmation from Hillsborough County's Environmental Management Division that the wells were properly abandoned by Hillsborough County Water Resources, and they will not be used again in the future. This slide shows the general location of the amendment. Again, it is up in northwest Hillsborough County. The area that is proposed to be removed is this green zone 2 protection area, as well as the well by the amendment. This slide shows the more zoomed in view of the amendment area. Again, this green square here. This is US 41. This is Sunset Lane, to provide some additional context. In terms of impacts, the amendment would remove the Zone 2 protection area and the associated restrictions and prohibitions for the area that was outlined in green for the area that's currently in the Zone 2 protection area. There is no proposed change to the Zone 1 protection area, and so the restrictions and prohibitions that are associated with Zone 1 would remain. We have received comments from 3 agencies: Hillsborough County, the Environmental Protection Commission, and the City of Plant City, and we have not received any objections from these agencies to date. Again, we did receive confirmation from Hillsborough County that the wells in question have been properly abandoned. In terms of next steps, we will move to the Planning Commission public hearing on April 12th and the BOCC transmittal public hearing on April 22nd. And this concludes my presentation. I am available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Overman, did you have your hand raised on this?
Yes, I did.
You're recognized.
Thank you. I was looking at the map, and what does properly decommissioned? I mean, that term that you used, because I have great concerns on decommissioning wells for a variety of reasons. We've had, especially when they're along 2 major intersections that literally could put on top of it a gas station that could potentially have leakage into groundwater. So when we remove these wetland protections, so wellhead protections for those areas, and we've actually decommissioned the well, what does that truly mean when it comes to protecting the surrounding water, underground water areas?
Sure. I am not a professional geologist, but from what I know in terms of capping and abandoning wells, it essentially means that the wells are not planned to be used. They are sealed in a manner that's acceptable to the folks who are responsible for regulating these types of wells. And the folks who do that type of regulation were sent this amendment and had no comments with respect to any kind of environmental concerns.
Okay, thank you. And to follow up, so once the protections have been removed, are there any protections from the surrounding water sources, given these wells heads are typically very, very deep, right? And so they have the true opportunity to connect to other areas and other water sources and wellheads in the area. And there are several in that area. So that's why I'm looking specifically at this one. But because there are several in the area, and these wells typically are deep, even though they've been decommissioned, when we remove them, is there a future protection of the groundwater by any type of development that would be proposed?
So I can get, for the public hearing, we can have someone who perhaps could speak a little more in detail to the specific protections and how the wells are protected, in terms of making sure there are no adverse impacts for future development. We can certainly have someone who has the appropriate credentials to speak to that, come and share that. But I would say generally the fact that the scientists and the folks with the PGs and the PEs who look at this have no concerns. I would say that generally there are not any concerns about any kind of leaking into the aquifer or contaminating other wells. But I can confirm and get someone here who can speak to that.
Right, and I appreciate that, and I would actually expect that, because I do know of several other water systems in that area that feed other water systems all throughout, say, for example, the city of Tampa. It fed into the Sulphur Springs area at one point in time, where there was not, the protections didn't exist then that are there now, that caused a significant contamination level of other waters through the entire feed of Blue Sink. And this may be unrelated, but for example, if we were to see that this were to occur, and for example, the ground be permitted to bury, for example, gasoline tanks for a gas station, for example, what level of protections are provided on a decommissioned wellhead to assure that that contamination is not possible? Not that it, there's certain protections they would make sure that they don't do it, but because of the vulnerability of a wellhead being there previously, I'm trying to get a handle on whether or not there is sufficient rules within the world we live within to protect those water sources in our area, because it is a critically important piece. We have put together a one water plan to make sure that we have one. And decommissioning a well is an area that little concerns me in that respect. So I would expect if this were to move forward as a privately initiated event, that we would have assurances that there would not be, or have limitations in terms of what's possible in that area, in order to avoid creating a potential environmental and public health concern. So thank you very much for your report. I appreciate it.
And Commissioner Oberman, I did want to note that we did send this amendment to the Water Management District, to EPC, to Tampa Bay Water, I believe also to DEP. So there are a number of agencies with the scientific and technical expertise that have looked at it or will be providing comments. So we'll definitely continue to coordinate with them and make sure that we have a solid understanding of what the scientists are saying.
Thank you. But I do want it on the public record for future insurance. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'll just say I was very concerned about this as well, Commissioner Overman, so I really appreciate your questions. And maybe I just, you don't always absorb everything on the first round through, and maybe it feels a little different to me than the briefing. I just wasn't sure. But I know it's a privately initiated text amendment, which I kind of, usually you think, or I guess I have a sense that somehow this comes from rather the water resource or something like that than a privately initiated text amendment to change the status of this. And as I understand, I know Commissioner Overman used properly decommissioned, but I guess I thought, as I remembered it, it was something like abandoned, or there was another term that it was, that this well was no longer being used, and my question was why, or why that had happened, and I didn't, at that time, there wasn't really an answer to that.
In terms of why the well is no longer in use?
Yes.
Unless Mr. Gormley knows offhand, we can certainly get someone from the Environmental Management Division or Water Resources Division here next time. And we can follow up with you all before that meeting to provide that information. But I am not familiar with the nuances as to why in particular that well is no longer being used.
Because I know there was, the only other time I knew of a well no longer in use was when FDOT in road building had accidentally opened up a well of some sort, and it was not repairable after that. In Brandon, I think it was something to that effect. So I was curious about that. As well, I see that there's a level 2 protection, which is a higher level protection than it has now. It would move to a level 1. But to Commissioner Overman's points, it's really not clear what that means in terms of going from level 2, the higher level of protection, to a level 1 protection. And I also would like to know what that would mean, and as well, I think it's we certainly have had, for whatever reason, it always kind of shocks me that certainly there has been at least one gas station chain that has specialized practically in building on wetlands, and I'm I'm very concerned about that, and the ability to convert this to a gas station in a really, whether it's any longer a wellhead, but it's still a sensitive area, and what could be done and what could be developed there. And so that would speak to the going from zone 2 to a zone 1, a lesser protective category. So I'm just interested in knowing a lot more about this.
Sure. Thanks so much. A couple of items to respond to some of your questions. First, I wanted to make sure and clarify that the wellhead property where the Hillsborough County wells are themselves is not being proposed to be changed to a gas station. I believe there is another rezoning in the area that is nearby, but it is not on where the wells are now. So I wanted to make sure that was clear for the record. I also wanted to note that it's my understanding that the Environmental Management Division is working on some updates to the map, the map that's adopted today. This update was proposed by the applicant. It is ahead of some of those updates, but it's my understanding that the proposed updates would have incorporated this change as well. And then with respect to the specifics on the zone 1 and the zone 2, those are in section 3.05, wellhead and surface water resource protection within the land development code. And so that is where there is some additional information about the specific uses.
Great. And I think that would more speak to whether, even if there's a gas station somewhere else, whether one could be put here. And I appreciate those clarifications. It gives me a little more insight into this, because I was a little confused process-wise, I guess. And so with that, if there's no further questions, do we have, or Ms. Arnita, another next item?
Yes, the next item is Plan Amendment 2104, which will be presented by Unica Mills.
Can you bring up my item for A6, please? Good afternoon, Commissioners. Unica Mills, Planning Commission staff. I am here to present HC CPA 2104, the environmentally sensitive land credit. Next slide, please. To give you some background, the concept of the environmentally sensitive land credit has been within the unincorporated Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan since its inception in 1989. Within the 1994 Evaluation and Appraisal Report by the state, the language and the method for calculating this credit is in the format that you see in today's plan. There was a market analysis study done by a county consultant, WTL, which made recommendations to modify the density approach for both the Residential Plan 2 as well as the Wamama Village Residential 2 future land use classifications. This study made a recommendation to focus developable lands on net acreage rather than gross acreage. However, with that study, they did not necessarily recommend eliminating the wetland density credit. So that brings us to where we are today. The Board of County Commissioners requested that Planning Commission staff, the Development Services staff, as well as the County Attorney's Office to coordinate and prepare a future land use amendments to the comprehensive plan as well as the land development code in order to eliminate the environmentally sensitive land credit, better known as the wetland density credit, within the rural area. The proposed text amendment was initiated through with the thought that by removing the wetland density credit, it would serve to protect sensitive rural areas as well as environmental areas, as well as strengthen the county's transfer development rights program. Next slide, please. The environmentally sensitive land credit, though we call it the wetland density credit, the technical name is the environmentally sensitive land credit. It's found within the future land use element of policy 13.3 of the unincorporated Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. This policy is basically a calculation that allows for parcels that contain 25% or over of wetlands to have the potential to receive a 25% increase in density or intensity on their site. A caveat to this, though, is that the amount of wetlands is formally delineated by the Environmental Protection Commission to get an accurate density intensity calculation. Currently, how the calculation works, if you have a parcel that contains below 25% wetlands, the calculation is based on the entire project acreage. However, if you have a parcel that contains over 25% wetlands, the calculation is based on the upland acreage and giving a 25% increase in intensity density potential. Next slide, please. Under the proposed revision, it is recommended that the policy language be modified so that whether a parcel contains either over 25% wetlands or under 25% wetlands, for those parcels within the rural area, that calculation would now be based on the net developable land area as opposed to the gross acreage. Next slide, please. So here's an example of what the calculation would look like with the credit and without the credit. On a parcel of 100 acres with a future land use designation of residential 2 and that contains at least 25% wetlands without the wetland density credit would be eligible for a potential to develop up to 150 units. However, on that same parcel, 100 acres with a future land use designation of residential 2 and that contains over 25% wetlands, that parcel would have the potential to receive a maximum of up to 187 dwelling units with the wetland density credit. A difference of 37 units would possibly be eliminated with the proposed policy language change. Next slide, please. This graphic shows a comparison of the residential permits that have been issued within the urban service area versus the rural area from 2019 to 2020. This comparison is important because it shows that not much development activity has taken place within the rural area, which is where this proposed amendment would affect. Next slide, please. For those agricultural lands located within the rural area that contain more than 25% wetlands, as you can see from this chart, the agricultural mining 1 to 20 future land use classification contains the most wetland acreage. Next slide, please. And for those agricultural lands that are located within the rural area that contain less than 25% wetlands, as you can see again from this chart, the agricultural mining future land use classification contains the most acreage at over 2,000 2,000 acres of wetlands. Next slide, please. For those vacant lands located within the rural area that contain greater than 25% wetlands, again, from this chart, agricultural mining 1 to 20 future land use contains the most acreage. Next slide, please. And for those vacant lands within the rural area that are less than 25%, again, that agricultural mining future land use classification would contain the most acreage, coming in at a little over 2,900 acres of wetlands. Next slide, please. So in staff's initial analysis of how many units would possibly be lost, it was determined that within the urban service area that over 18,000 units would possibly be eliminated. And within the rural area, approximately 30,000 units will possibly be eliminated with the removal of the wetland density credit. It is my understanding that with this amendment, though, the urban service area will not be affected. Next slide, please. Planning Commission staff has held several virtual outreach meetings on February 25th. From these meetings, as well as comments from citizens, staff has heard the following concerns from all parts of the community about the proposed wetland density credit removal. We've heard that this amendment affects their ability for future subdivision of parcels of land to pass down to other family members. We've also heard that it affects their borrowing power, the number of units that you can potentially develop on your site, which allows banks to evaluate the amount of money they will lend. We've also heard that maintaining the rural character is very important. Additionally, that there is a large economic impact that agricultural production provides and that there needs to be support for that. We've also heard that there are areas that are now characterized as wetlands that were artificially created in the past for water conservation programs with swift mud, which reduced the upland acreage on some farms. So how does this proposed amendment affect those wetlands? Next slide, please. Citizens have also pointed out that they believe that this proposed amendment is in direct conflict with the legal status of the comprehensive plan, which states that goals, objectives, and policies contained in the comprehensive plan shall be reasonably applied where they are economically and environmentally feasible, not contrary to the public interest and consistent with the protection of private property rights. We've also heard that citizens are fine with the status quo and to leave the policy as is. We've heard from several organizations, the Florida Farm Bureau Federation, Strawberry Growers Association, the Agricultural Economic Development Council, as well as the Cattlemen's Association. Those comments are in your backup for review. Again, their comments mainly were concerned with the reduction of property value again, as well as that this amendment may be an infringement on their private property rights. Next slide, please. With that said, as staff continues to do further analysis for this amendment, we will get more into the specifics as to the percentage of those units that are over 25% and under 25% wetlands. Additionally, staff will be looking at the community planning areas that will be most affected. As well, we will be looking at how this proposal may be related to the Transfer of Development Rights program and how it may help to strengthen that program. Again, more data will be forthcoming, and through this process, staff will be as transparent as possible as more data is forthcoming. There is an associated project page for this amendment. Here's the link on the screen. This will help to keep citizens abreast of all the changes as this amendment moves forward. And at the Planning Commission workshop on yesterday, they did suggest to us maybe that we should have some alternatives to be explored that are not all or nothing on this amendment. As well, they thought that it might be a good idea that staff take more time to do some further analysis as well as receive further input. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Commissioner Smith, you're recognized. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. I have had a significant amount of questions about this, as well as I need some clarification on timing on how these different projects move forward. My concern is that while I do believe that the wetland density credit has value, and maybe in more of an urban setting than a rural setting, if we're going to create one in the rural setting, then we have to have the complementary TDR program fully developed in order to compensate for the loss of value to true agricultural rural communities. And I think that is something that they need to run hand in hand. I do not believe that they can run separately. The TDR and the wetlands credit need to run with each other and not exclusive of each other, because of the economic impact that it has on landowners that historically are living within the financial services world, separate from our land development world. But our land development has led to an equation that the financial services industry or lenders for the ag community and other communities to set a certain set of standards on valuations. And I think it's important for us to recognize that before we move forward on removing the wetland density credit. And, you know, we've heard from the constituents that there appears to be a disconnect there that I believe it's critically important that we do. So I'm glad we're taking additional time. I'm hoping that we can make sure that those two elements of our land use and our comprehensive plan are fully vetted, but I'm not sure they can be in the rural areas separated. They need to run hand in hand in order to make sure that we're not harming a very important part of our overall economy, as well as protecting, you know, the lands and the environment that many of our agriculture community, as well as other rural communities, are value and want to protect in Hillsborough County. And I'll stop there.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you. Did I hear the Planning Commission staff, Ms. Hemingway? Is that Hemingway? I thought. Anyway, did I hear you saying that the consultant, WTL, our economic study that was done for the RP2 and WVR2 areas, they did recommend eliminating the wetland density credit, but I thought I heard you say they did not. Can you clarify, please?
Yes, in my read of the WTL's draft that I read, I don't think it exactly said to eliminate the density credit. I believe they were speaking more on how the calculation would be done, that to focus on the net acreage rather than the gross acreage.
Exactly. A net acreage, net wetlands. So I find this staff presentation here a little one-sided, I have to say. And you know, in language like how many units would be lost without any consideration of how many acres of wetland would be better protected, and as well as the rural character of the rural community, I would ask you before our public hearing to take another look at all aspects, all perspectives on this issue, and hopefully give a presentation that is, you know, possibly more, that includes some other perspectives besides some of the stakeholder interested parties' objections, but also communities. And I would ask you to revise the comment that the consultant did not recommend, or explain that a little bit better. This is this wetland density credit program that Hillsborough County does is not done everywhere. I don't even know if it's done anywhere else. And so those, I think we're taking a lot of theoretical opposition counterexamples when people say, oh, the bank won't allow me to get loans on my property if you eliminate this credit. Well, how do banks loan money to farmers in the rest of the country that calculates their future land use based on uplands only? Because uplands are the only place you can build. There are other reasons to do this. And as I say, protecting wetlands and protecting the rural character are two of them. I would ask that staff review this with a look at all sides and perspectives on this. I also think that when I say some of the objections that are being brought to us are just presented at face value without any vetting by staff. I would like staff to help us understand, is it really true that banks in other areas that don't have wetland density credits don't lend money to farmers? It's hard to believe. And the business about the counterexample we've been given of a farmer that has a 10-acre parcel with 1 acre of wetlands, so then they can't divide it into 2 5-acre, 1 per 5 acre. That's very theoretical to me. I wonder if there even is such a farmer, such a 10-acre parcel in the rural area that, are we just being asked to make this decision based on very theoretical counterexamples and arguments that are not rooted in reality? And I would ask staff to help us understand the underpinnings of these arguments and to take a fair look at all sides of it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Smith. And I see Melissa Zornita, but I want to make some comments at this time too. I felt it was a very biased presentation, very one-sided, and I'm really disappointed by the quality of the presentation. It was more an argument about with only presenting one side of this. We did get many emails supporting this. There's been a Times editorial in support of doing this. It is an important thing to do in particular in our rural areas. As Commissioner Smith said, and I've talked to someone at this point with some expertise in this area, I will tell you that I went and started searching muni codes around the state to see if anyone else, and the staff, I'd asked them before to produce this for me, and really I didn't get a list that showed any place that had anything but the most limited transfer of development credits for environmentally sensitive lands, and that was a high hazard coastal area, actually. So this is like and I asked another expert around the state who has legal expertise, a lawyer in this area, and I said, do you know of anyone, is there any county or jurisdiction that you know of that gives credits that are so, overstated for their wetlands area, for their swamps? Basically, when they bought this area, they bought it knowing that you can build in it. And the answer was no, absolutely no one that they were aware of in the state of Florida that had credits that were like this, so generous. And just like our impact fees, where we've given away everything and we have nothing. We have done the same with these wetland density credits. And I just, because they don't apparently exist anywhere else, and yet there's these farming counties all over our state, us being, I think, a larger one still, and I'd like to keep that there. Because they have these all over the state and they don't have wetland density credits, and I have not been able to find any wetland density credits nearly as generous or overly generous as we've done. I just fail to believe it. When we've looked at the history of this, we can't find the history. It just kind of is in our code from 1989. And, you know, as everything I found in Hillsborough County to just really just, juice things for extreme development and extreme opportunity for that. And I as well am very skeptical of any of the financial arguments made, as I said, just because they don't exist elsewhere and yet farming exists elsewhere and yet they're able to get loans for their agriculture. And we're saying that a loan predicated on developing it and using it is as a development asset is what is allowing them to do their agricultural loans. I just, I also would ask staff to really look at that. I'll be skeptical even if somebody comes up and tries to produce something as they would maybe in a trial or something showing in that case. And as well with the WTL, that is exactly what it said. And I've read it word for word from the dais several times. I don't have it here with me, so I was a little surprised when I heard that characterization of the WTL statement, because I had been thinking about this, and then I read the WTL study and read it, and I read it out loud at several meetings now, exactly the words of it, so that no one misunderstood or thought I was making that up. So to hear a different characterization is kind of takes me aback a little. So again, I'll just say I'm looking forward to moving on this agenda item and just exploring it more and hoping that, we look at these other items because we are quite generous in all of our development code in every area we have done this. So I look forward to looking at this specific item. And with that, I see, I don't know, Ms. Zernita has had her hand up for a while. I don't know if you want to speak now, Commissioner White. I'll recognize.
I'd like to, yes. In defense of Planning Commission staff, I'm sure that they have disproportionately heard from the members of the organizations referenced. The membership of all of those organizations, most, if not all of them, are out in my district. And believe me, I've gotten an earful about this. So I'm sure that there's been an element of that. And I do support the agricultural community, and I do support folks that have large land holdings as an investment, many of which have had those land holdings in their families for generations. So I do want to listen to their concerns and hear them out. I too agree that this board needs to better understand the lending practices for farmers and ranchers, farmers, I'm sure, predominantly. And maybe that's something we can get on the agenda for the next meeting. I was, my gears were just turning, and maybe it's something, I could put on there as a commissioner item, or we could ask staff to bring something forward. But I think we almost need to do a procurement of an expert to come and work with this board and help us better understand how decisions would impact agricultural lending. So that's something I'd like to discuss further. we'll bring it forward in some way, shape, or form at the next meeting. But in Planning Commission staff's defense, if it's anything like what I've experienced, they probably have, there probably has been a disproportionate a level of interest from the folks referenced. Maybe not so many folks from the community. Maybe it's just not on a lot of people's radar screens yet. But if you have a large land holding in the rural area, it's on your radar screen. I've heard that loud and clear.
Thank you. And Ms. Arnita, I didn't mean to keep you so long, but
It's okay. No problem at all. I appreciate all of the board members' comments on this item. I did want to state, and thank you, Commissioner White, for your comments, that I did ask Ms. Mills to be very transparent about what we heard at those stakeholder meetings. I did not want any of you all to be blindsided by those comments later in a public hearing. And they were more from one side of the coin than another. Certainly the data that we have been able to produce so far has been limited, and that's part of the reason why we want some additional time for greater analysis to understand whether or not some of those issues really, how they play out, whether some of the unintended consequences that have been described in the stakeholder meeting truly would come to bear. The other thing that I wanted to address was the issue of the WTL study. WTL was not charged with looking at whether or not the wetland density credit should be applied in the rural area. They were doing a market analysis of the RP2 and the Waimama areas. Their recommendation was to modify the combined density policy to net developable acreage. And what their discussion was partly about the fact that some people were combining properties within these areas, and they would go from having 2 properties that had more than 25% wetlands on each of them to somehow combining it, and they would have less than 25% wetlands. And so their recommendation was, so I think everybody in here is actually accurate, because WTL said multiple things on this topic. They said that we should modify the base developable density within parcels to net developable acreage as opposed to gross acreage. But they then went on to say that the environmentally sensitive, nor is the environmentally sensitive land credit suggested to be changed. They were thinking that there were other ways to address this, but again, it was not their purview to be making the policy recommendation. They were addressing the market conditions, and that were and that this was perhaps, this practice was elevating the number of units that could be permitted in these 2 land use categories. So I just want to be clear. I don't think anybody's right or wrong here. I think what WTL said was sort of nuanced, and I just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for the clarifications. I think it was a good discussion, and I don't know if there's anyone else. Commissioner Overman, I see your hand is raised. Is that from before?
No, it was just a follow-up. And thank you very much. I agree, actually, with all the comments. And that's why I indicated that it's critically important that we actually bring forward with any changes that are recommended in terms of the wetlands density credit, the TDR program, because the transfer of development rights will have an economic equation within it that does 2 things. As the wetland density credit does as well, it recognizes that the value of the land in the process of an equation to adjust density in some way, shape, or form, either to transfer it away or to reduce the amount of development space. And as we heard earlier, a lot of this came out of 1989. Is that when we made, 2 houses per acre considered rural? I mean, is it the density that we created permittable at that time that created this problem back then? And do the other rural communities have the same level of density allowed in agricultural rural areas that does or does not have a density credit? So I know that that kind of muddies the water a little bit, but I think it's critically important that we do recognize that the underlying value and the calculation associated with it is not really disconnected to a bowl between, you know, the lending value and the development value. And I think that's where we've got to have some consistency in either the credit or the transferable of development rights, because that's really what the land is how it's valued, either by the lenders or by the families that have lived on these lands for long periods of time. And we must respect that as part of this process. I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Okay. And seeing no further discussion at this time, that was the last item, correct, Ms. Rosio?
Well, the remaining item is that there are some land development code amendments associated with this plan amendment that would make the code conforming to the comprehensive plan, reflecting the changes in density. I don't know if Israel Monsalto has anything to add on that item.
We don't have a particular presentation on those, but I think Ms. Zonita described them accurately. They're minor language changes to conform and recognize that density would be calculated per the comprehensive plan, and making some distinctions on rural areas for wetland density credits where it was needed.
Okay. And I think, Ms. Zornita, did you have anything else to say?
No, that's the last item. So
Okay.
thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and we'll adjourn.